dirt roads to rock crawling, two-buck chuck to screaming eagle, moonshine to 50-year-old single malt. We talk about it all here on Wheelin' Wine and Whiskey with your hosts, Jason and Chris.
Welcome to the Wheelin' Wine and Whiskey podcast, episode 193, recorded in Studio L with Chris.
Hey, how you doing?
Lorenzo's not here. You wouldn't let him into the house.
He's not allowed here anymore. I've got a horse now. So.
I thought horses and donkeys get along. Aren't they from the same genre, family?
Don't they create mules?
Yeah, right? Something? I don't know.
Well, last thing we need is Lorenzo to have a mule.
I don't know. Yeah, well, whatever. But yeah, so here we are.
Not the home studio. My studio.
No, your home studio.
My home studio.
Your home studio. We're drinking your whiskey for a change.
God,
We've had a little. I've only had a tiny bit. This we just finished an interview that we're going to present here shortly. That is, we've had a lot of great interviews here at Wheelin' Wine and Whiskey, and this was a fun one, and some serious behind the scenes knowledge bombs, man.
Oh yeah.
So looking forward to that. And if you've read the title, you already know who it is.
Yep.
Jason Berger. So he's a great guy because his first name's Jason. So, have you met a Jason you don't like?
Well, my name was Jason for this episode.
It was too, yes.
So
everybody's Jason.
About his driver, Jason. So
Co-dawg,
we're all Jason.
Jason Scherer, Jason. Yeah, this is good.
It's like Roger.
Yeah.
Huh?
Victor.
What's your vector, Victor?
So, yeah, man, I don't know. Do we want to do any business or anything, or should we just go right into this interview?
Is too good not to just let it fly.
We went almost 2 hours.
Oh. 2 hours of really good stuff.
It's good. We were just flowing, and I'm like, okay, I've checked. I had a ton of information I wanted to go over, and we hit it. So and more. So I think without further ado, let's just roll right into the interview with Jason Berger.
Boom.
Okay, Chris. We have a special guest again on the podcast here. This has been a long time in the making. Finally making this happen. It was supposed to happen in person, but we're modern technology here. We're doing it remote. But we have Jason Berger with us here on the podcast today. Welcome, Jason, to the podcast. How you doing?
Oh, hey, Jason. Hey, Chris. Thank you very much for having me here. It's an honor.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Hey, the honor's ours, man. You're 3-time king there. This is good stuff. So, been following the off-road scene for a long time here. And, I remember seeing you and Jason Scherer out there at We Rocks at Donner and everything and, doing some insane gravity-defying wheeling out there. So how'd you get all involved in the off-road scene?
Growing up here, just kind of something I started doing naturally with the Rubicon Trail. And then I went to my first rock crawling comp at Amador and kind of got hooked, and then bought my own car and got involved with that. And actually my first spotter I ever had was Tom Ways back then.
Isn't that crazy? Good old Tom. Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, we've been friends for a really long time. Good friend of mine. But I first started spotting for my late dear friend Phil Pasiak that passed away last year. And that's how I kind of got into it. And then started driving. And then took my brother-in-law as a spotter. And we actually met Jason at a Fernley event years ago.
Oh, really?
Kind of just a weird on the hillside, threw some rocks out. And Jason was having some trouble with his car. And we kind of met there. And then I think he got married there shortly after. And actually his brother, Casey, also a good friend of mine, they broke an axle in the Bronco. And Jason... they came out to fix it, and we came and fixed it at my house. And I kind of think that's like when Jason and I really kind of started our friendship was back then. And then the event that you're referring to, if I was spotting Jason, which was not normal, I didn't spot Jason in rock crawling. This wasn't until later.
Okay.
I actually think that we looked like complete chumps on that event. We went up there and we hadn't been doing that for a really long time. And then we just got our asses handed to us at Donner. Those guys just smoked us, and we're like, wow, we're kind of out of practice.
But you put on a hell of a show, I remember.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Don't always have to win to be popular out there at Donner, man. Right? It's some extreme terrain.
Yeah. No, I spent most of my time spotting for, and that's how I became part of the Campbell family. I was spotting for Nick Campbell for years. Yep.
Right. Yeah. So, I was going to get into that. Okay, so you covered a lot of ground there. So, because I wanted to know how you met Scherer. So that's interesting. And I mean, isn't that the way of off-roading? Is like somebody breaks down and you help them out, give them a few tools or whatever it may be, and then look at this, you end up, racing KOH here. So,
yeah, not just that, Jason, but he's my dearest, bestest friend.
Right.
I mean, not just saying that, like he's just, I'm real lucky to have him as such a close friend. And yeah, we get to go do all this cool stuff together too.
Yeah, that's incredible. So from the rock crawling days, so you competed, what did you have? What did you start out with?
It was a factory tubular motorsports buggy. I don't know if you remember those guys out of Utah. And it had some, it had small block forward in it, and it had portals. But they were they were, I broke it all the time, to be honest with you. And then I switched to some portals that were 416 outers with 9-inch centers. And I competed in that in the U-Rock West. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I bought a buggy that I'm pretty sure was built by Jesse Haynes, because it was a Badlands buggy that Rusty Bray owned. And the first time I competed in that was at, do you remember we went down to, it was SEMA down in Vegas?
Oh, right. And they did a course.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I had competed in that buggy. And then the year after that, and also consecutive that year, we kind of got into rock racing. And that's where I just realized I like to go fast. So that was the XR. That was the XRRA.
That's right.
Racing thing that we did. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, so there's the progression from just doing some recreation wheeling on Rubicon to competition rock crawling to having some badass buggies. By the way, there portals and all that back in the day. I mean, that was like that's innovative stuff. Yeah. And then you decided you wanted to go fast. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I don't like to go fast. I like the technical, slow rock crawling. That's my speed right there. But it's fun to watch. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Jason, I truly love that, and it's still amazing what you can build, and go compete with and be very competitive. Whereas I know anybody can win King of the Hammers, but still, where it's going and the money it takes to race is pretty insane right now.
So let's, now that we're just, people want to know, I mean, this whole KOH deal. So the first year you competed in KOH was 2009? Is that correct?
Yep.
With Scherer?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Lorenzo did our homework here. This is good. So do you know who Lorenzo is, our super producer?
I think I know the name. I don't know.
Yeah, no, he's an ass. He's a miniature donkey, but he's our super producer. So he's not here with us right now, but I'd show him to you. But yeah, there's a whole story behind that. You'll meet him at KOH.
I know a lot of asses.
Exactly.
I'm just not sure if I've met yours.
Yeah, no, it's very with all the years of off-roading, we all know a bunch of asses. That's for sure.
This is going to go sideways fast.
Yep.
So
anyways. No, so first year of KOH. So what, when you got down there and Scherer goes, hey, you want to go fast? Let's go fast down at this race that's starting up down here in the Johnson Valley, the desert. What were your thoughts, or what was your impressions when you first got out there and saw that terrain, and then what program you guys were putting together on that desert floor?
Well, I had interest in it from the first start. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but just seeing Dave Cole this last weekend kind of made me think about it. I was one of the original people that was asked to come be on the very first race.
Oh, really?
So I've known Dave, has been a good friend of mine for 20 years. And he had asked me, he's like, hey, we got this idea. Jeff and I, we're going to do this race. And you got a rig with portals. You like to go fast. And I just never did it. And that's probably my only regret. I'm like, God, I wish I was part of that OG team.
Right. Hindsight, right? Not knowing what it evolved into now, and go, damn, that would have been awesome. But you could have been the actual 13th of the OG 13.
Well, backtracking for 1 second. I mean, thinking about what the King of the Hammers in 2009, the experience was like. I mean, Hammertown wasn't Hammertown. It was like, what, Hammer Village or Hammer what? I mean, there was
Hammer Camp.
Probably 5,000 people there, 500 people. What was it like?
That's hard to remember the number that was there in 2009. Jason had asked me obviously before we raced, and I mean, you guys know kind of the size of me. I'm not the smallest person in the world, and so the first thing that needed to happen is that car needed to be changed, and it was originally a Promart car from the Campbells, and then Jason took it to Schaefer out Carson City, and configured it to be as competitive as we could at the Hammers. And then Jason and I practiced probably more that year than we ever have, because we had no knowledge.
Okay.
And so we were out at Moon Rocks and some places out there, near Carson, and we practiced a lot before we ever got to the Hammers.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, you weren't really focused on the village or the community at that point. You were focused on learning the terrain and what was going to happen.
And then, it's probably, I don't know if this makes Jason and I look that bad or that good, but we never camped there in the village. So at that time, it was so small. We actually camped way, way out there by the cell phone bush.
Oh, okay.
I remember Dave getting frustrated with, he's like, you guys need to be in the camp. People want to see you, and you got to, it's about making this whole, big Hammers experience and Hammertown. And we were like, man, but we're really taking this seriously. Like we're not partying. We're trying to sleep, and we want to win.
Right.
And so the first couple of years, Jason and I camped way away from everybody.
Really?
And so honestly, I don't really remember how many people were there, but yeah, I mean, compared to nowadays, even last year I showed up it was Wednesday or Thursday, a week and a half before the race. And I was like, holy crap, there's already 20,000 people out here.
Oh, that's when we got there, it was, it's crazy.
So where do you stay now? Palm Springs or what? Just
helicopter in and stay in Palm Springs.
Because there ain't nowhere for 10 miles around that place radius where you're going to get sleep. So.
Yeah. Jason just gave me my Christmas present. And I'm not kidding. It was a set of Bose sleep buds.
Oh, yeah.
Noise canceling.
So that I could sleep at night. Because you guys know how it is. Like,
it's crazy.
Oh, the fireworks and the motors and the partying, and it is so hard to get good sleep.
Yeah, and I got a bunch of newbies coming this year that are camping with us, and I've already prepped them. I'm like, if you're going there to get any kind of relaxation or sleep, it ain't happening. The quiet time is roughly between 3 a.m. and 5:30 a.m. That's about it.
That's
so
the truth.
Fireworks are dying down, and then the cars are firing up in the morning, getting pre-running in. So I said, good luck with that. But that's funny. So where'd you meet Dave Cole then? Through the racing and stuff?
Through rock crawling.
Yeah, rock crawling and all that. Yeah, how funny. How it's a small world, huh? How it all just kind of evolved. Man, that's super, super cool. Okay, so 2009, first KOH, you guys are super hyper-focused as you've been from day one there, like you're talking about, and just we're there to win. This isn't just a recreational rock crawling thing out there. And you guys end up winning that year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Goal achieved. Check.
I know. It was a surprise to us too. I mean, I want to say that year, and I know I'm going to be incorrect on this, but we started something like, that's what was the random drawing.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say we started it was in the 27th or something like that. And we passed, if we started 27th, we passed 26 people, whatever it was.
Right.
When we came back to Hammertown, we had passed every single car. And I remember Jason said, well, whether we finish this or not, we just made history. Right. Passing everybody in such a short distance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then, I know Jason's told this story, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember coming back on Claw Return, or the main road going to Pit 2, which wasn't Pit 2 at that time. We were going along that road at 270, 280 degrees on the transmission, and just going, God, let's hope it makes it back. And it obviously did. But that's when, back then, you didn't even have the finish line at Hammertown. You had the finish line way out there, by, kind of
that's right.
back door.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, wasn't.
So you would get Dave Colby out there with the flag, and you would get flag down there, and then go slow into Hammertown.
Right.
So it wasn't as exciting, I think, for the crowd and obviously for us too. I mean, now when we get to the finish line, my wife and my kid and the media and everybody's there. It's a really emotional time.
It is. And this past year, I was there at the finish line when you guys crossed, and it was that whole debate, because it was all timing, right? It's like, did you guys come in, you physical first, second, what's going on? And then the whole time differential. And I was right there watching the whole thing go down. So it's quite amazing, actually. The beginning of the race, like I talk about all the time on the podcast, is that morning of when you guys are sitting there in Hammertown lined up and getting ready to get out onto the track, and all the cars are idling and everybody's warming up and getting all their pre-routine going, right? And then the cars idle out to the track, and that's pretty electric moment right there, the start of the race.
Go time.
It's intense, but our position right there is to try and stay as calm as possible.
Yeah.
I see people with their feet are like, hitting the ground, and they're like getting all riled up. And Jason and I usually have, it's usually Andre Nicotina playing in the background. And it's honestly, we're just trying to stay very calm. It's a long race. Yeah. And, you know what happens when you leave there too fast.
So, yeah.
You're broken down in 2 minutes.
Yeah, right. And you guys always seem to be out front. You seem to qualify first always. I don't know what your secret sauce is there, but man, that's do you know how many times qualified first?
I don't know how many times we qualified first, but I think Jason's been on the pole for 8 or 9 years. 8 years.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. God.
So, yeah. No, we're pretty comfortable up there, and usually I go have a talk with whoever we're starting with if I know them.
Oh, okay.
And just be like, hey, what do you want to do? Like, because we don't want to both take off and end each other's race.
Right.
Like I just always think it's good to have a discussion about what's going on, what's your plan? Are you wanting to be the first off the line? How badly do you want to be out in the desert? Things like that. I remember one year with Nick Nelson. I don't know Nick. I still don't know Nick. And he shot out ahead of us, and we just had fun being behind him for a really long time and just kind of followed him at his pace. And he was flying. That guy was super fast. And it was kind of fun to just stay behind him and put the pressure on him.
Right.
And then the next year, Lauren Healy comes to me and he's like, hey, I don't want you behind me. we started next to each other, and he was by himself. He's like, I don't want that pressure. He goes, you guys just go. I'm just going to stay behind you. I was like, all right, cool. And then last year with Brian, it was the same thing. I'm like, hey, Brian, you are the fastest guy out here. You qualified first. Yeah. I know that family really well. They're near and dear to my heart, right? And I said, what do you want to do here? I just wanted him to know that if he did want to go in front of us, we're not the team that's going to hit you. We're not going to wreck you. That's not what we're doing.
Right.
And it was just funny because he's like, look, dude, I haven't finished King of the Hammers, so I just want to finish. Wow. Like, I don't want to be like battling with you guys. And I'm like, look, why don't you just get the whole shot? You're going to get it anyhow. You're faster than us. But just know when you take off that we're not going to try and pass you.
Okay.
Until we get past Turkey Claw.
Right.
then
it's game on.
And I told him, I'm like, look, if you want to dog it out, we're totally down with that. But if that's not really your thing and you truly just want to finish, just let us by. You guys, we took off on the starting line, and I never saw Brian again. He was so fast. There was no dust at all. He was just gone. And then I don't know if this has been talked about, but our car wouldn't run. It was dying. Every time we got about 3,000 RPM, it's just cutting out. And we're changing fuel pumps, and we're like, oh my God, our race is
right
done.
At the beginning of the race.
Right at the beginning. Yep. So we go into Turkey Claw, and there's a couple of videos you can hear the car missing. Every time we get about 3,000, we're just coughing, and like, oh my God, we're radio back to the pit. You guys, we're done. We don't know what's going on. Car won't run. We're going to have to pull over. So Jason's like, hey, let's at least get through Turkey Claw and over the hill, and then we'll have plenty of room to pull over. We won't be bottlenecking anybody. Yeah. And you guys, you can watch video. We're still not going slow, but there's not even dust from Brian anymore.
It just cleared out.
Checked out. So we come down the other side. Jason hits the brakes, and all of a sudden the car starts running great. Well, he had taken his jacket off. We had like a windbreaker on, and it got sucked up into the intake.
That's right. I remember hearing about that now.
You kidding me?
And so he's like, I fixed the car. And we take off, and I'm like, there's still no dust anywhere. And then we see Brian on the side of the road.
Right. And that's right.
I'm like, and I still don't know what happened. Brian and I didn't get a chance to talk, but the only reason I'm telling the story is, look, it's really good to start in the front because you're dust free.
Yes.
But the reality is, and Jason and I mindset, whether it's starting 20th or 30th, you still have 7 or 8 hours of race in front of you. Absolutely. It's not one right there, but it can absolutely be lost right there.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome insight, and just like you say, talking to the other drivers that are starting next to you, and what do you get their mindset? You mentioned Nick Nelson. I got to 4-wheel with him at Trail Hero this past October.
Cool!
Yeah, it was so cool. I saw him he was up ahead with us, part of our group, but he spotted me up an obstacle, and I'm like, Nick Nelson, yeah, and gave him a high five and stuff. But anyways, it's cool. That's I like this stuff here, Chris. This is good.
Yeah,
good
that's just so you know, that's the only running race I've ever won in my entire life was against Nick Nelson, the co-driver.
Really?
And his ankle might have been broken at that time, but that doesn't matter to me. I actually
you got to manage your equipment, Jason, right? Doesn't just mean your car; it means your body too.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. No, I am a terrible runner, and a good friend of mine actually made that comment. He's like, "Wow, I've never seen you win a foot race before." And that's when I don't know if you guys remember, that's when we were on backdoor. And we had already decided we were going to winch.
Right.
Nick Nelson decided to go for it. And so we had the edge on him. I already had the winch out, ready to go.
We've seen you run other times too. A few years ago when you had to get fuel back at Hammertown.
Yeah, did you see how fast I was going through the desert there?
Well, you were slower coming back with a backpack full of fuel.
It didn't matter. Honestly, you guys, like I took off from the car and I just hear this, and I'm like, the drone. And I was like, what's that noise? And then I'm like, oh, fuck. My whole gym right now is laughing.
Yeah, you were put on the spotlight there, man.
Oh, man. The bald spot on my head was all I could think about. And then just, you're running with a catheter on.
I never thought about that.
I had to leave King of the Hammers early that year for a work emergency. So I was at home sitting in my living room watching the race. And when I saw this whole thing going down with you, I was like, oh, my God, what is happening here? But you did great.
Yeah. The amount of shit I got when I got back to the gym was hilarious. They just loved it because I'm just known there for being such a terrible runner. And then the worst thing is I don't really know what's going on. I just got to get back and get fuel. And then those two dudes meet me like out there in the middle of the desert. And they're like, hey, we want to give you a hand. Can we bring you some fuel? And I'm like, no, you can't do that. You can't help me. I will be disqualified. I'm like, how did you guys know that I was out here? Oh, we saw you on the Jumbotron.
Great.
My head just bounced like, oh no, are you kidding me right now?
So how far did you have to run? Do you know what the mileage was?
I want to say it was like 27 miles. Just kidding.
I don't think it was quite that far.
No. I don't know. It felt like forever. It was probably only a couple miles each way.
I think they said it was about 3 miles.
Yeah, but then getting fuel and strapping that to your back, and you've got 80 pounds or so on your back. That had to be a slog on the way back.
Well, Jason sent a specific text to our team to not put more than 2 gallons in the can.
Okay.
But they put 5 or 6.
That's pretty full.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Jason can handle it. Don't worry about Jason.
Yeah. So because how'd you get the nickname CrossFit Sally? I mean, I know you got the gym, CrossFit gym and stuff, but where did that nickname come from?
So, the gym I used to work for, the owner there, his name is Miles, and I used to work out with him, and he's just he's a beast, and he's a little bit younger than me by like 10 or 15 years, and he would just kick my ass every single day, and he would just constantly say, "Why are you such a Sally? Quit being such a Sally."
Oh boy.
And so I just went with it. I'm like, CrossFit Sally, like I don't give a shit, you know what I mean? And so it just kind of stuck. I thought it was funny, and I don't mind throwing myself under the bus.
Sure. If you can't make fun of yourself, right?
People don't read it that way, though, because they know I love CrossFit. They think it's CrossFit's ally.
Oh, interesting. I never thought of it that way.
That works.
It does look like it that way. Yeah. So how's that work out as owning a gym and people meet you for the first time? What?
Well, fortunately, I'm not very popular on Instagram.
Okay, there you go. Good. There you go.
No. Yeah, so that's how that kind of came up. And I actually got rid of my Instagram account. That what's ironic is it was that year where everybody was talking about CrossFit Sally. I didn't have an Instagram account that year.
Okay.
I had it previously and then I got rid of it. And the only reason I actually started it back up was because I had quite a few athletes in my gym who kind of wanted to see what we were doing.
Sure.
And learn a little bit more about the race. And so typically at the race, and I'll try and do a good job at this year, I usually get up every morning and kind of do a recap on what Jason and I did the day before and how things are going for those people that are interested.
Yeah, and it's really cool, the whole tie-in, right? Because people think, oh, you're just riding in a car, across the desert, and people that don't know our sport have no freaking clue, right?
None.
And then people that are in our sport, like rec wheelers like us and stuff, it's like, okay, a full day of wheeling, I mean, we're kind of tired. I mean, there's, stuff going on, especially if you're doing a recovery or something. But then when you pump it up to Ultra 4 racing and you're getting it's an 8-hour car wreck essentially, you need to be in top physical shape, and the drivers that take it seriously are doing some sort of a program. I know I'll bring up Eric Wicks. He started working out with you a couple years ago, and he says, man, this is the best I've ever felt, and and that's a huge advantage sitting in that car going across the desert there.
Yeah, I think it's really important. It's physically and mentally being prepared for this race, and it's exhausting. And hopefully, if you can control the mental aspect and you can for sure control the physical aspect, you should be able to make it through that 8 to 10 hours. Not easily, but you should be able to keep a clear head and not fall apart.
Yeah. So how many years have you raced now? Just pretty much KOH, right? Have you done any other racing with Jason other than you did some Baja stuff? I know. But what, from when you started, I guess my question is from when you started in the car to where you are now and think about physical and mental health of that whole aspect, how did that evolution go for you?
So when I first got into rock crawling, I was in terrible shape. That was my early 40s, I guess, late 30s, early 40s.
Okay.
And I was 280, 290 pounds. I was pretty heavy. And I'm 6'3", but still I was pretty overweight. I'm 225 now and my body fat's fairly low. So, but I didn't have the muscle that I have now back then.
Right.
And what had happened was Cody Wagner, another good friend of mine, he wanted to lose some weight and we had a 30-day $500 bet.
Okay.
To lose the most weight in 30 days. And that was actually what spurred on me starting to lose some weight.
Interesting.
Wow.
And then I want to say my son was probably, gosh, my wife's here. She'd probably know, probably 3 or 4. And I had my appendix removed.
Ooh.
And I just had this moment of being like, man, I gotta get my crap together. Like, this is ridiculous. And so I just, and I actually didn't start with CrossFit. I just started just by trying to get healthier and be on a treadmill and some stuff like that and kind of watch what I was eating. And then the reason I'm so into CrossFit is it's just something I really enjoy doing. I tell everybody, it's not for everybody. It's for anybody. Anybody can do it, but it just ended up being my thing. And so I was in better shape, starting to get in shape when Jason and I first started. But that 2009, if you look at any videos, I don't even know if there's videos back then, but you'll see me in this big red jumpsuit. I mean, I look like baby Huey. It was ridiculous. Gigantic. It's the only thing I could fit in. So I hadn't lost all the weight by then, but that was about the time I started taking a little more serious. And then, in terms of how long I've been doing this, that was the first race. And then I raced with Jason in 2010. That was another trip across the desert. But we didn't have drones and stuff like that to follow us. But we were in Big Johnson and broke an upper Y-link. And I ran back to pit 2, which was at the bottom of Wrecking Ball.
Oh, okay.
And then grabbed that, I don't know, it's like 80-pound Y-link and then carried it back all the way. Yeah. Matter of fact, that was like one of my favorite race memories because I went straight over the hill to get to pit 2.
Okay.
But on the way back, I was so dehydrated and exhausted. I thought, man, I should probably stay near the race course in case I need help. And so I was kind of going down the middle of the race course, and I knew Nick Campbell really well. And my other really good friend, Rob McKinney, I saw them coming down to the pit at Wrecking Ball. And then they were going to be coming down the race course. So I ditched the Y-Link, pulled off my driver's suit and bent over and opened up my butt cheeks as they were coming by.
Oh my God. Hello.
It was one of my favorite moments in racing.
That was going to be one of my questions of like, what was one of your KOH highlights? But there you go. I never would have imagined that one.
Now we know.
Yeah. Hey, you gotta have fun doing this.
Absolutely.
Sure. We weren't gonna win. Well, Jason wasn't gonna be mad at me for taking 5 minutes to kind of have some fun with some other friends. So little did they know, I was hoping they would have stopped so they could have carried my weight.
That's awesome.
In hindsight, right?
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Nice one.
So then after that, my business, I had a transportation business. It was really hard for me to get down there in February. And Jason ended up building a 2-seater with Adam Scherer, and then went to a single seater. And then Shannon had been trying to get me to ride with Wayland. But Wayland was young at that time. And I talked to Shannon about that. I wasn't super comfortable. I had a wife and kid at home and wasn't ready to step in. And I think I stepped in with Wayland around, I can't remember, 2014 or 2015.
Okay.
And I think we got 4th. Like that was his best finish he had.
Wow.
And that's when he had obviously his 2-seater before he went to a single seater.
Right. His current car.
Yeah. And then, I can't remember. I was with Wayland for 1 or 2 years. I really don't remember. And actually we were not a great pair. And it wasn't anything against Wayland or anything against me. I actually think we're both too calm. He's
pretty chill,
super calm.
We interviewed him, and I was surprised at how chill he was.
Yep.
I mean, he is cooler than a cucumber, man. I mean, I was like, wow. And I had this whole like different image of him, and then sitting down and talking with him, I was like, wow, super chill,
super, super calm. And so that's the reason I don't think we're the best. And not that Jason's all wound up or anything, but just, I'm trying to be the calm one, and Wayland was really calm. We never seemed to, I think we did fine together. I just would say it wasn't like the perfect match.
I see.
And Wayland is a great driver all by himself. Sure. He does not need somebody else there. He does a fantastic job. And then, when Jason originally built the car, he had told me anytime I wanted to come back that he changed the car back to a 2-seater. Mm-hmm. And 1 year, it was just my son and I were talking about it. And he's like, I know, like, you're such good friends with the Campbells and all that stuff. But, Jason's your best friend and you should be back in the car. And I called Jason and I said, hey, were you serious about this? And he said, I'll order the parts tomorrow. And that's how it happened. I mean, like he literally ordered the stuff to change the car the next day.
Wow.
And what year was this now? That was
2017.
I was going to say 17 because you guys won again in 18.
I remember being bummed in 2017 because I had won the UTV with Shannon. Mm-hmm. And then I wanted to win the 4,400 with Jason. I thought that would be pretty sick.
Yeah, a little
co-driver,
back there.
And we took 3rd, if I'm correct.
Okay.
And then we went back to back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 18, 19.
Yep. Awesome.
Yep.
I wanted to kind of circle back for a second and talk about the CrossFit and the exercise. And, it seems like a lot of the teams today are much more physically fit than they have been in the past. Do you think you're part of the influence that made that change or pushed it?
Gosh, I hope so, Chris. Like, I hope I'm an influence to make everybody make that change. I'm very passionate about wanting to make people healthy and have them live their best life. And this is something that every single one of us has absolute control over, unless you're like type 1 diabetes or something like that, aside from that. But most of us have control over that. And it's, I think I can attest to it. It makes you for a happier person.
Yeah, it works.
Well, I agree. I mean, I'm not a spring chicken, and I'm certainly a little out of shape right now. And I've had a few health issues that have been coming up lately, and I'm kind of back on the exercise routine and trying to get my health back in shape, so that when I'm down at King of the Hammers next month, that as Jason and I would be media, we're going to be working our way around Hammertown. There's a lot of walking that happens when we're down there, and I can't be huffing and puffing and being out of shape. I mean, it's a high desert situation, and a lot of walking up that hill to back to our campers and whatnot. So I'm definitely making a concerted effort to try to get myself back in shape.
Good. And you had mentioned Eric, and Eric's dropped a ton of weight, and unfortunately he's had some injuries that go along with that too. Any sport you do, and CrossFit's one of them. You've got these aches and pains and stuff that happens, but ultimately he's in so much better shape. And when he got done with the race last year, he felt great. And what did he get, 10th or 11th? I mean, he killed it. And he said he felt so good at the finish line. So, I mean, that was a huge win for me. That made me super happy to see an athlete that recognized how much better they feel.
That's great. I think, Chris, you should call up Cody Wagner and do a $5,000 bet with him here between now and KOH. See what you guys can lose.
Well, I'll do. It'll be 10 to 1. It'll be 5,000 from Cody and 500 from me. Do you have any routine that you do when you're on the lake bed during the week and a half or 2 weeks you're down there? Do you do exercise, or are you just kind of taking time off and running the car at that point?
I always plan on it. I actually brought barbell, weights, kettlebell. I bought a whole bunch of stuff last year and never did it.
Oh, really?
And last year do you remember how windy it was last year?
Oh,
yeah. So it honestly was, Jason and I had that talk of whether it was actually a worse idea or an unhealthy idea to be out there trying to work out with the dust flying around, getting into your lungs. So, but it always makes me feel better. But I always seem to run out of time too. It's like, it seems like the days are so long. But I don't know, Nick, I'm up at 5 and the next thing I know, it's 7:00 at night and I'm tired and I want to go to bed.
You see, Shannon Campbell posting pictures of doing a run up the short course there or something before Hammers. So, I figured you guys are out there doing something, a little pre-conditioning or something there.
He was chasing Jesse.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay. Yeah.
He loves to run.
He does. He's a runner.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you go to his Instagram, you get to see which is amazing, right? Like what he's been posting on in terms of like how to build a Jeep.
Yeah.
All the tips and tricks. So you got 23 posts of that. Then you have a couple of one of him running in the morning, 23 posts of fabrication.
He's living his best life, man, as far as I can tell.
He really is.
He's out running every single morning. I just hate running.
Yeah. No, I'm not a runner either. Put me on a bike or something, but no.
I'll run if someone's chasing me.
Yeah, there you go.
So if it's a bear, you just need to be faster than the next slowest person.
Yep. So anyhow, Chris, I like to answer your question. It would be an incredible ego to think that I had some sort of major influence on everybody. But I think that just really the reality is when you look at the length of this race, and if you really want to be serious about it, your physical condition has to be, you'd be an idiot not to think that played a part of this.
Oh, for sure. I agree. I mean, shit, just walking up and down the hill from camp puts me I run out of gas doing that. So I can't even imagine being in a car like that. I mean, I rode right seat with Eric Wicks in his trail buggy up and down Fordyce a few years ago, and I was freaking fried by the end of the day. Of course, he rolled it, but
It rolled on your side though for some reason.
Yeah, well, he and I were both about the same size, so I don't think that counts.
I think that it is surprising, even trail wheeling, how tired you are from just trying to hold your core, because you're trying to keep from bouncing around and you're staying really, really, really tight the entire time and don't realize it.
Well, and if you have a buggy without doors, you're crawling Bo and Luke Duke style back in and out of the damn car all day. So it's,
I've only got a few ins and outs.
When Chris rides with me, it's like, he's like, I'm staying in, you go see what's going on or go hook up the winch or something. But he only has a few in and outs, but we're going to improve that in 2023.
Absolutely.
Chris.
Well, we're on track.
But it along those lines, it was interesting to me as I started to get more involved and going to more and more KOHs and getting to learn some of these race teams and what they went through. And it was like, how professional it's getting. Right. And you got so much money invested. So yeah, you better take it pretty damn seriously. If you've got, if you're out there just hey, let's see how far we can get. And I got my rec wheeler I just kind of modified to race. That's one thing. And you're pounding beers around the campfire the night before. But, watching teams like you and Scherer, how it's evolved, and you go out and qualify, and then the car gets torn down, and just every freaking last detail is, taken care of, T's crossed, I's dotted, and then your guys's, mental and physical regime there, and it goes to show, and obviously the results are there from you guys being 3-time kings. So it's just crazy to watch that evolution, and you go from pit to pit, and you see, and you can, now, you walk into a pit and you go, oh yeah, they got their game together, people are scrambling, and they don't know which way they're going. So your guys' race program is second to none there.
Well, it's an interesting transition, because you start out by just a bunch of friends getting together, and it's exactly what you said. You guys, we're drinking beer, we're having fun, we're racing, to where you get the sponsorship, and then now you're like, hey, no beer in the tent,
right? And
you honestly have 40% of your team that's like, what the fuck? You're telling me I seriously can't have a beer in the tent? We're like, look, we're sponsored by Ford now.
Yeah.
There's no beer in the tent, and even during COVID time, when everybody had their opinion about whether they should have a mask or not, if you looked at our team, every single person had a mask on. And that wasn't because every person on the team believed that, but it was because this is going to be public.
Yep.
And we have big sponsors who expect us to do the right thing. Right. And that was 100% the right thing to do publicly.
Yeah, for sure.
And so you're moving from a recreational side of just buddies to a very professional side with honestly a lot more stress that's involved with it.
Oh, I imagine so.
Yeah, the pressure and everything, and you're probably, I don't know if it's second guessing, but that's in your mind the whole time. It's like, how are we being viewed as a team? We got to put our best foot forward as everybody performing. I mean, Ole's a good friend of ours. I mean, even he was wearing a mask, and he doesn't need to with all that beard. So
right, yeah,
just wraps the beard around his head a couple times.
And it's honestly one of those things where you have to sit there and go, okay, if that team member, and we don't really have this with our team, I don't think it's happened once, but if that team member's not on the same page, then they don't need to be part of the team at this point.
Right.
Because everybody on the team should recognize what our goal is. And, here's the crappy thing about winning. Once you've won, that all that matters is winning again.
Right.
And so the team gets that, and they take it very seriously. So that transition hasn't been terrible for us. There's been a couple stumbling, but it hasn't been terrible.
So with that, let's talk about this brand new car that you guys got to play around with a couple days ago here in the desert. So what can you tell us about it? I know there's some really state-of-the-art cool technology there with the shock package from Fox, and of course it's got the rowdy Ford motor that sounds freaking ridiculously spicy. So yeah, let's hear your insights on taking that car out to the desert.
There's nothing I won't tell you about it that I know. It's out of the box. It's amazing, and we're having the same probably issues as most, just with new technology and new car, just trying to kind of figure everything out. We were down there a month ago, and we had a couple issues. There weren't huge issues, but a couple things. Fox computer wasn't communicating with the Motec, and so we weren't able to run the live valve system. Transfer case was getting a little hotter than we wanted it, so we kind of needed to figure out what's going on there. And but other than that, like out of the box, it was pretty good. And then fixed all those things and went down this past weekend, or this past Thursday and Friday. And man, you guys, I don't want to talk shit about anybody else, but honestly, if you're not on some sort of system like a live valve system here in the future, I feel like you're going to be left behind.
Really?
It is next level, you guys. And especially I think for what we do, and I don't know about the desert guys, like I think that's a little, not probably as important for them, but maybe it is. Maybe I just don't know enough about that sport. But yeah, to change our shock settings, Jason and I have always set the car up pretty stiff out in the desert. And if you guys, everybody knows this, if anybody watches it, we're going to try and beat you in the desert, and we're just going to try and do okay in the rocks. And to now have a system where you just flip a dial from, 3 to 1, and then, you're using just flying over the rocks. It's insane.
Game changer.
So you're setting up the suspension. You can stiffen it for the desert. You can softer for the rocks. And I mean, it's literally a flip of a switch or computer, whatever.
It is. So you're going to have I can tell you on our system, and I don't know if it's the same for Lauren and the other teams that are on the live valve, but you're going to have 5 settings on there. And so you're going to have your most common one that's going to be let's say you set up 1 for the rocks, and then you have set up 3 for the desert. And then maybe you have a setting for qualifying, or you have one more setting that's a little bit firmer than what you would normally have for the desert. And so you can go to those settings. But what's more amazing about that system is that it is making changes as you're driving. So, we can go on the Motec screen and see compression and rebound on each individual shock. Mm-hmm. And as Jason hangs a hard left, I can see the compression on both right shocks immediately go higher. Wow. And so it has what's called an IMU in the center of the car. And basically its whole job is to keep the car flat the entire time. And so you think about what that happens in the rocks. Sure. Instead of you have all that body roll, right? The car is staying flat and the suspension is just allowed to do what it's supposed to do.
Especially with the independent front. Okay, letting the suspension work. Wow. And so now so you're looking at there's a screen there that's giving you this feedback. I mean, you got your navigational screen, right? But I mean, you're talking about some of the feedback, or was that just for testing?
No, that's so the Motec system we run in the center of the car. That dash, I think, has 12 different gauges, basically, or blocks on the gauge to where you can set it up. So we can monitor everything. I mean, we're not Formula One,
right?
But, it's honestly kind of getting to that point. So we're seeing torque converter temp, trans temp, T-case temp, motor temp, obviously all the normal stuff that, but then we can switch to another screen and we can look at compression and rebound on each one of our individual shocks.
Holy moly.
So your job just got way more complicated there. You got way more data to process, huh?
Well,
to see if it's working okay and all that.
Yeah, that's in the center of the car. That's not on my side. I have a couple gauges that I'm supposed to keep an eye on.
Okay.
The obvious ones: motor temp, trans temp, T-case temp. Right, those are my main things. Jason can see them too, but and he's really good at being able to pay attention to that stuff. We're not on those other gauges. Okay. That was just more you're right. Yeah. When we're testing, we're kind of and we're both tripping out on that. We're like, holy crap! You see. When we would catch air, you guys know, when you get to Hammertown, you kind of come downhill and there's a little, there's always been that rock there to the right, this little bump. Yeah. Well, we'd like to catch air off that. Every single time we come in, Jason's got to launch it off of that thing. And when you're in the air, you see all 4 shocks go to 100 on compression because it knows it's falling out of the sky. And we need compression in all those shocks.
So these are not an active shock situation. I mean, other than the fact that it's changing the valving for the fluid flow, but it's not pumping up the side of the vehicle the old Infinity system that did.
No.
So it's if you're going on a hard corner, it's not going to level the car out.
No.
It will level the car out in terms of adding compression to a side, yes, but it's not there. You're not changing pressure, you're just changing compression.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
So and then you're changing rebound on the other side of the car. You're letting it drop out. Right.
So what happens if something majorly goes wrong with this computer system and the shocks are just they have no
it's got to be a
communication? What's the default?
Soft.
Do they default to Rancho 5000s or something or what?
I don't know what it is, but I asked Mike Kim that too. It just goes to soft.
Okay.
So, but you guys, it's the amount of time Jason and I have spent testing and valving shocks. And I mean, in 2009, we were changing our valve stem stacks ourselves, to where now, I mean, the support from Fox is unbelievable. I cannot thank Mike Kim and his guys that much. But that video that I recently posted on Instagram of the car coming at us, that was literally out of the box.
Really?
And Mike Kim was in the car and we hadn't done anything other than his program. And that section going back to Dave's ranch there, they're not huge whoops. But there's a corner in there, and in that video, Jason's right at 80, and that's out of the box.
Wow,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I stoked for KOH now.
So I would say that for us right now, it's fast enough. It can be faster. We just don't have enough time. But is it too slow to win? I don't think so. I think it's fast enough to be comfortable out there to push the pace that we normally like to push and still feel safe doing it.
So I got to ask you this question: riding in the last car last year, and then now doing some testing in the new car, what's like the changes that you notice, other than obviously the suspension that's crazy right now, but as far as like speed or anything else that really stands out between, because they're kind of two different chassis, right? I mean, it's totally different cars.
They're pretty close.
Are they?
Okay. I know it looks very different from the back.
Yeah.
Because of where we changed the spare tire and changed all that.
Right.
But, and I don't want to say the wrong things in terms of
sure.
exactly the dimensions that we are. I think we're 2 inches longer than the other car, which is just in the rear links. Mm-hmm. And then I think we're 2 inches narrower, 1.5 inches narrower, something like that. And then, running portals up front, straight axle in the rear, no portals in the rear. But I would say that the most significant change, which really is not important to anybody but myself and Jason, and I just love this part of Jason because he spent so much money to make this happen, and it was really to make me safe.
Get it? Yeah.
So honestly, like that transfer case that was built by SCS, that was designed by Keith and Jason. Keith at Get Bent, and I think Matt Taylor also. I'm not positive on that, but Matt's usually in that design process to take that transfer case, have a center output for the front, and then drop it down under Jason's seat. And you guys have probably seen the pictures I posted.
Yes.
It literally forms around his seat.
It does, yeah.
Yep.
So before it was coming into your side of the car.
It was on my side of the car. And so my head was really, really close to the and I actually hit my helmet a few times, never in the desert with the belts tight. But when we get to the rocks, we'll loosen up a little bit to be able to move around.
Sure.
And I've tapped it there. So Jason, building this new car, one of the biggest things was to make it extremely safe for both of us. It didn't make it unsafe for him either, but it took my height, right? Well, have you ever looked at the UTV, a picture of Shannon's UTV?
Oh, yeah, you're so stuffed in
my
that
seat's
thing.
way lower, right?
Yeah.
So, it's way lower than Shannon's. So it was about making the car much safer inside.
Okay.
And then in terms of obviously portals, I think that everybody's kind of going that way to gain that extra clearance. I think we lost a little bit of travel in the front actually going that way, but I don't know. I think it's like a 1/2 inch or something like that. In terms of like motor wise, I think we're another 120 horsepower because that Dugan's motor is an 8-stack motor, which obviously 8 individual stacks instead of just one intake. And we had the same motor last year, but we couldn't run the 8-stack. So we didn't have the
way it was configured.
We didn't have the space. And so this year it's the true 8-stack, and it's a seat of your pants feel. We get on the throttle and it sets me back in the seat. It's impressive.
It's very, very noticeable to you.
It's quick. And there could be other changes. Like we did a little torque converter change, and I think our gearing's pretty close to the same, maybe slightly different, but it's a seat of your pants feel now. The car's fast, you guys. Like I'm excited. I get nervous because we don't have a time to test, and that's like any new car. Rarely does somebody get a car delivered to the lakebed like Raul.
Yeah. How about last year?
Jesus, right? I know.
Raul's got some connections apparently. Just here we go.
That's
that's
up there at that level too. So thinking about the competition, you just mentioned Raul. Obviously there's a lot of new cars that are going to be out on the lakebed. What's your feel for, Levi's new car? And of course, there's rumors that I don't know if Shannon's going to have a new car this year or not. I haven't seen anything being built, but what's your feelings?
I can answer that. Shannon will not have a new car this year. He'll race a single seater. He just didn't have time to finish that. So, and I know that for sure because I ride with him on the UTV. And if he was going to build a 2-seater, he would obviously have had somebody else ride the UTV with him. It would just make most sense.
Gotcha.
So I'll still be riding with him in the UTV.
Oh, you are doing UTV with Campbell?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Yep. Cool.
It's always fun.
That's got to be like yin and yang going from Campbell driving to Scherer. I don't know. That's the way from an outsider looking at it.
So it's funny because you watch Shannon drive when he's by himself. And then I think if you watch him drive with me in there, I think he pulls back with me in the seat. It doesn't feel crazy when I'm in there.
Really?
It doesn't seem crazy. The biggest thing for Shannon, and the reason he needs a 2-seater, and I think he'd be the first person to admit this, he is the only guy last year to run sledge twice.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
see the
navigation.
He didn't have a co-driver.
Yeah.
And here's the funny part, the part that nobody knows. When we broke down in the UTV and we walked out to get that steering, I told him, look, don't forget, when you come down on the first lap, you're going to forget this. And sure enough.
And he forgot.
Yep.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But how amazing is that? He runs sledge twice and jackhammer twice and took 5th.
Yeah. Well, that's Shannon, right?
That's right.
So go ahead.
I was just going to say, maybe I'm just used to it, but I don't feel it's as crazy as it looks from the outside.
Okay.
And I said, maybe it's because I'm in there. It's also, look, I mean, I'm 225 pounds. I don't know what Shannon is, 200 pounds or something like that. And we're not going very fast. I think the UTV tops out at like, I'm going to say 76 miles an hour just because I like the number 76, but it's somewhere around there.
It's got to feel like a golf cart. Well, it is a golf cart, I guess, too. But it's got to feel like a Volkswagen Bug compared to the, getting into Scheer's car there, too. The power, I don't know, just night and day there.
Not very fast, but probably one of the safest vehicles I've ever felt. Like you have a Canva built chassis with not a lot of horsepower. Not a lot. That doesn't exist very often.
Right.
Sure.
So I always feel very safe in that car.
What do you notice, or what can you say about the way you co-drive for Campbell as you would co-drive for Jason? Because you probably have to adapt a little bit to each driver, right? Like keeping somebody calmer. Like I could see Shannon getting a little, crazy or whatever. But you and Jason know each other so well and best friends for so long. Do you change your strategy a little bit when you're sitting in that right seat with Shannon?
For sure.
Yeah.
Shannon is trying to keep him more calm. And it's hard with him because he's always worried about everybody else. He's always worried about Bailey. He's always worried about Waylon. Like he loves his kids. He wants to know how they're doing. I truly believe he wants them to be more successful than he wants himself to be.
Sure.
And so he's constantly on the radio, like, where's Waylon? What's going on with Waylon? What's going on with Bailey? And he's just kind of, gets pretty riled up about that stuff.
I see.
And then he is more aggressive when we're getting behind somebody and he wants to pass them. He's not very patient. And that's more me trying to, if there's a different role, it's me trying to keep him to be a little bit patient with that. And look, honestly, guys, the argument could be made that sometimes I'm too patient. I sometimes think that's a fault of mine of being a little bit too slow and a little too laid back because I don't want to make a severe mistake. And that's with Jason and with Shannon.
Sure. Sure.
But I would say they totally different drivers.
Yeah.
I mean, 100%. When I'm with Shannon, I don't think I drive like him. And I'm not trying to compare my driving skills to either one of those. Okay. So please don't take it that way. It's just, I'm not like Shannon drives different. So I'm always like, whoa, oh shit, and Jason, I'm like, I feel very comfortable because I'm anticipating what he's going to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I kind of alluded to is like, you guys know each other. Like you could finish each other's sentence, right? Because your guys are best friends. You hang out, off the track, on the track, all that stuff. So yeah, you guys are very simpatico like that. But yeah, where Shannon, you've known for a long time, but are not spending as much time with him. So, just checkers or records with Shannon. So,
checkers or records.
Yep.
Love it.
Well, that's cool. Well, I'm glad to hear you're going to be back in the car with him in the golf cart race this year. So that's good.
Yeah,
and
it'll be fun. And I was, we did win that one time, as you guys know. Yeah. But I mean, now those guys are so fast, and those guys know their rig so much. So Shannon and I know that we don't have a very good chance of winning that race, but we really, really want to do well in it. And the biggest thing is finish that race so that we get an opportunity for pre-running for our big race.
That's what I was just going to say. I said it gives you guys that firsthand seat time there, see what the course is like. Obviously, things change between UTV and the main race on Saturday from Thursday to Saturday. But
4800s are in the middle there too.
Yeah, so. But it's got to give you an advantage, both of you, as Shannon as a driver, you as a co-dawg there, to really get familiar with what's going on out there at the desert. So. and the rock trails, any alternate lines that pop open that you might need to have in the back pocket there and stuff like that. So,
yep. And seeing them because they change.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, one rock moves like that. What was it? Was it last year in Chocolate Thunder? The big rock moved and it changed things up. I mean, it's constantly changing, as we know out there.
Oh, you guys, just real quick on that Chocolate Thunder thing.
Yeah.
That's going to be our qualifying course.
Yep.
Jason, I'm not over exaggerating this at all. We went out this weekend and we're like, hey, let's just go run up Wrecking Ball and down Claw. Let's just test right there.
Okay.
So on the way to Wrecking Ball, I'm like, well, dude, let's just go up Chocolate Thunder.
Chocolate Thunder's
like,
right here.
Over the top, right? So we pulled into Chocolate Thunder and it was quiet for a moment. And I said, so why don't we go around Chocolate Thunder?
Really?
And you guys, we didn't do it.
What?
We didn't even put the car in there. Nope.
So,
we backed out of.
So I heard the right line's
Thunder.
like totally not really viable anymore. So it's just that left side, that left line, or
that left line. I would say the right line, at least by my.
Really?
Maybe, yeah, the right line looked better to me. That somebody pulled a big rock down on that left line. You know where you would kind of side hill and just kind of turn it onto its passenger side? Yeah, we pulled over there and we're like, that doesn't look very good. And then we looked straight and that doesn't look very good. And looked to the right. Well, we should save this for qualifying day.
So yeah, what do you think about qualifying back on Chocolate Thunder? And then how is that? You got any insight on how that qualifying is going to work? Because I mean, you got to start and finish in Hammertown, right? I mean, that's going to be a long.
No.
Well, how's that going to work?
I don't think you start and finish in Hammertown.
Okay.
I think you start and finish at Chocolate Thunder.
Okay.
The way I understand it is you were going to, God, I hope I'm correct on this or else Dave's going to give me an earful, but I thought it's okay. We're
it's all right. There's only like 8 people that listen to this podcast anyways.
That's right. Dave will be good with it.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that what he said is that he's going to drop the flag and you're going to be right there at Chocolate Thunder. Like the very first thing you'll do is go into the rocks.
Okay.
And then once you pass the rocks and you go up over the hill, I want to say he said 30 seconds or a minute till the next car leaves.
Okay.
So he'll make sure that everybody's passed the majority of the rocks. So then you'll go over the top, super fun section around the back, hairpin right up over the top. And then you've got idle issues and her problems that or backwards. I don't remember if I have that correct, but then, so you'll go through the rocks up and down. So you could run into some lap traffic there, but ultimately that shouldn't be that big of a deal.
Okay. Wow. That's going to be exciting. So totally changing up. Any insight on like any of the rock trails that they're going to be running or anything?
I heard that even the UTVs are going up King's Veto.
Really?
And I was there on Friday.
Yeah.
And Cameron was out there going up it. And, I think it's co-driver, the guy that was with him, his name is Brian. He had a Trent Fab chassis rig and we couldn't get it up it. And it wasn't, not that it was a like Trent Fab chassis issue, but it was just, we tried to it's a car that should have gone up that.
Sure.
And once we got to the top where you kind of have to hang a left around that rock, it just couldn't get it to make that corner. It's going to be, Dave says it's going to be hard this year. He's got a couple new trails that he's thinking about putting in. And King's Veto for the UTVs to go up,
He wants everybody to finish in the dark.
Yeah,
that's his goal every year.
Yeah.
I hiked up King's Veto that first year that it was ran, and man, I mean, it took me. I'm not, super CrossFit here, but I mean, I'm in pretty good shape, and it I had to stop a few times to catch my breath. I mean, there's some monster boulders and drops in there that I had to climb up. So I can't imagine going up that in a freaking UTV.
It's obviously going to change by the time the race comes. But there's a YouTube video that says King's Veto, who did it the best or something like that. And it shows Raul, then it shows us, then it shows Blyler all come down. And right now, the way we took down, in my opinion, is the only way you could possibly go up it.
Really?
And that's basically as you're going up, you would hang the left side. So you wouldn't drop down where Raul dropped, which was the original trail.
Okay.
You kind of hang to the left. But you're right. Those boulders are big. And once you get caught between them, you're not backing up and you're not going forward.
You're winching or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeehaw. Oh my gosh. Well, it's like, So last year, poor Scherer fell, man. When towards the end of the race, there you were still in the car, or what? I'm trying to think what happened there when car was on its side when he went to get out. He slipped and fell his tailbone.
He did.
Hard.
So what had happened is, and I don't know if you guys know this part. I don't even know if Jason talked about it, but when we were pre-running, we lost reverse in our transmission.
Okay.
Just something happened. So we put in the old transmission that had like 6 races on it, rushed the transmission up to, and still, in my opinion, the best transmission guy in the world, and that's Jim at ATO. He's phenomenal, right? He sent the transmission to him. He goes through it, and he was pretty sure he figured out the problem. Okay, the servo for the band was not making enough contact or something. I don't know that.
Okay.
I'm not good enough with that stuff. I that whole automatic transmission thing still really confuses me.
It's a magic box.
It's magic.
Yeah, it's a magic box.
Yeah, I don't understand how that works. So anyhow, it's really interesting to have that conversation, right? Like we're on a transmission pre-running still that has 6 races on it. And I remember exactly where Jason and I were. We were back by Claw and I said, hey, this is something we need to think about. Are we swapping in the new transmission or are we keeping this one? And Jason said, it's very simple. If Jim is sure he figured out the problem, we're putting in the new transmission.
Okay.
It's the best information we have. And it still honestly was the best information we had. It just ended up not being the correct decision, right? Or maybe not. I mean, we could have ran the old transmission and not even made it 100 miles. Who knows? But when we got up into Spooners on that last year's race, on your 3rd lap, you had to take the 2 really hard sections in Spooners. So you couldn't bypass that. And I think Winch Mob actually has a video in there. And if you watch it closely, you'll see us hit reverse and you'll see it go away. And then from that point on, for the entire 3rd lap, we never had reverse.
No reverse.
Whoops.
So when you see us looking like an idiot coming down sledge, we were like, what are they doing? They're such morons. How do these guys ever win a race?
Right.
We don't have reverse. And how does Jason Scherer roll right there?
Yeah.
You hear the commentators like, boys, you got to just put it in a reverse and turn to the passenger.
Exactly, right.
We don't have reverse.
Armchair quarterbacks, everybody's got this thing figured out.
Yep. You just never know what one of my favorite one was like the top of Wrecking Ball when I took the spare tire off the back and it rolled down the hill. I'm like, oh, insult to injury. The tire rolled off the back. I'm like, I actually did that on purpose.
Yeah.
You can't take it. That car, we can't go off the back because all the AN lines. And Jason was hurt his hand because we blowing that tire out. He hurt his thumbs in his hand and the steering wheel. So it's just funny, right? There's always probably a lot more information.
For sure.
That people don't know.
No,
these are great stories.
So when we turned there at Outer Limits, we were discussing before we came down there, hey, how do we walk through here? We never hit reverse on our first time through this. So we got to make sure we hit every single line exactly the same. And what do? Fuck up the very first line, the very first one. And we're going in there and Jason said it. He goes, I think we're going to roll here. I don't think we can pull this off, but we don't have any choice except to go forward. And so he lays it on my side and he says, get out and winch us over. And I'm like, dude, like I can't
I got a rock right here.
Yeah. So he climbs out and I'm trying to so I'm laying on my bag on the side, like all my winch remote and everything is I'm trying to get my body weight off of that, pull my winch controller out. And all of a sudden I just hear, and I'm like, Jason, are you okay? He's just making noises. So I throw all my shit down that I just gotten out, climb up and you'll see me. And then he's standing up and I said, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm okay. So then I go back in, grab my stuff. And then you guys see us winch it back over.
Right.
And then we hop in and he's hurt. He's hurt pretty bad. But, I'm also the co-driver that's like, look, dude, like, are you going to keep making those noises all the way to the finish line?
It's kind of annoying.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
I know, because I don't know if I can deal with that. I just need to kind of, poor Jason, I just need to kind of suck it up. And then I wish there was video of this, you guys. We come down the trail and there's a person stuck in the middle of the trail. I wish I knew what competitor it was. And we should just back up. I mean, we could easily back up and go around them, but we're committed. Right. We can't back up. And I look to my right and I'm like, there is no way. We cannot pull that line. It is absolutely impossible. I'm like, Jace, I just need to get out. Like I need to, pull winch line. He's like, no, Jace, I think I got it. And I'm like, there's no fucking way, Jason. Like, this is a bad idea. He's like, no, I'm pretty sure I got this. And I'm telling you guys, that line was so baller. I would love to hear what those two guys' opinion was, because they don't know we don't have reverse.
Right.
They were probably like, what the hell is wrong with those two people? And it was such a clean pass. And then it was that moment, like before that, where he was hurt, kind of bummed. And then after he pulled that, it was like a brand new Jason. He was just fired up and like, let's fucking win this race.
Thing.
Yeah, let's see what we got to do. But you guys have been whaling a lot, and imagine that you're now coming down outer limits and you've got to do hell to pay. You've got to do aftershock. You've got to do, I have a great story on aftershock, by the way.
Okay, good.
So you got to do all those trails, right? And you don't have reverse. Imagine going those trails without having reverse. So we get up into aftershock and somebody on their second lap is in the area where they're not supposed to be. They're not supposed to be on the hard section, right? And they're battling in there and they're battling in there. And so I'm like, Jason, just pass them. Just go to the inside and pass them. And he's like, all right, but they're kind of in there. I'm like, no, dude, just go. And he's like, all right, you're right. We got to get in front of those guys. We can't be screwing around. Well, here's the deal. We had a right front flat, so there's no way we're going to make that left corner. And we don't have reverse. So we'd make not a dick pass, but like, look, I mean, they're on their second lap. We're on our third, right? So, I mean, the reality is like, I think they would understand, we're trying to get this done. But it was funny because we get in front of them and then we can't back up. And they're stuck and we're stuck. Or not stuck, but they're waiting for us. And so I get out and I'm like, hey, you guys, just so you know, you're not supposed to be right here. You don't have to do this. You can go up and around. It's a really easy way. However, would you mind hooking your winch up to us and pulling us back reverse? So they were super cool and they hooked up to us and pulled us back. Right. So we get a better line at it and then finally be able to winch through there. That's awesome.
Yeah. That also points out, the teamwork and the camaraderie between the teams. I mean, that's cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it felt kind of like a jerk at the moment, but I knew they would understand. And I wish I knew who they were. And if they're listening to this, thank you for understanding and letting us do that. Because ultimately, I mean, look, I'm not happy with second. Sure. But I'm happy with second. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like when you consider all the things we had to deal with, it was a great place to finish that race.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And it just by a little timing, that's all.
What was the deal with Scherer's back? Did he hurt his back or break his tailbone or anything, or no, just bruises?
No, I just think he bruised it. But if you guys have ever like fallen on your tailbone just on like pavement, it hurts. And and what are you doing with your belts? Like you're putting all the pressure into your tailbone, And then, coming down sledge, we just made a couple mistakes, couldn't back up. So we had to winch through that. And then the reason we blew out the tire on Wrecking Ball was when you don't have the reverse band, you don't have first gear decel either. So Jason went to pass somebody real quick, jammed it down into first and didn't hit the brakes, expecting it to decel. It didn't. Yeah. Yep, no compression braking, and we slammed into the rock. Yeah. And so, it's just... Yeah. It's racing. Things like that happen. All those... I always say the person who wins the race has the most boring story.
It's true, huh? Right.
I mean, it is. Like they're not usually dealing with all that stuff.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. No dust, no flat tires, no $10, 10-cent fuses blowing out or something.
No power steering pump or whatever, I mean, it seems like it's one of those things every year.
What we got a lot of KOH rookies this year, and I know a lot of them listen to the podcast. What advice do you have for drivers and co-dogs out there coming into KOH 2023 of your years of experience on racing out there? What's some of the tips that you might share with them?
Well, first of all, I'm super stoked on the program. Yeah. Seeing people and I've actually more of a recent friend of mine here, a good friend of mine, Ryan Blount, is here in Truckee. And then one of his best friends, BJ Carter, is building a rig. Okay. Right? He's in the rookie class. And I've gotten to know BJ now. And I feel like I've known BJ for like my entire life now. He's just, how it is. Like we're all the kind of the same, right? And God, I just love it because I see how much passion he has to just want to race this race. And it makes me go, wow, like, I guess what we're doing is pretty cool. That somebody's willing to, honestly, I don't know BJ's financial situation, but dude, he's building everything himself in his garage with I bitched at him without an 1 16 wrench because he didn't have that. So I was like, had to go get one from my house and no lighting. But I'm just using it as an example.
Yeah.
Like it's bare bones. But he's so passionate about wanting to run this race. It put a smile on my face. I was like, this is really cool. And I think it's cool that Dave's letting it happen. If I gave anybody advice right now, honestly, and I mean this in a very authentic, honest, stern way, is all the people who aren't rookies to shut the fuck up right now and remember you were a rookie. Seriously, you guys. Right. I keep hearing this, like, there's one of those rookies in my way. I'm going to fucking hit him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, weren't you just a rookie 3 years ago?
Right.
Like, remember where we all started.
Yeah.
Right? We were all rookies. We were all passionate about making this our hobby into something. And that's what's going to keep our sport going. Mm-hmm. I think there's like 80 rookies signed up.
Yeah. Wow.
It's
insane.
Huge. Yeah. So it's really good. In terms of for the rookies, my biggest thing is going to be to every co-driver, pay attention to your mirror and make sure you get out of the way when somebody faster. And it doesn't matter whether it's a rookie behind you.
Sure.
Or it doesn't matter whether it's a seasoned, it's a Lauren Healy, for example.
Right.
But that should be to every single racer out there. My job is always looking in that mirror and making sure somebody's not behind us.
Okay.
So that probably my biggest advice to them. Co-driver, pay attention to your mirror. And if there's somebody behind you, they already caught you. They're already beating you. Move to the side. Yeah. You'll probably see them in 20 minutes broken down on the side of the road anyhow. Just get out of their way.
Don't get nerfed.
There you go. What about snacks and stuff and hydration while you're out there for eight hours or so? What are you doing to keep fueled up?
I'd say when I was talking to my friend Ryan about his job with BJ, that is your job as a co-driver. I need to make sure Jason's taking some water every half an hour, whether he wants to or not, to stay hydrated. Anytime we stop, anytime I get into the rocks, that's when I'm usually giving him, it depends on what you're feeling like at that moment. Like, you bring like Cliff Block or Cliff Bars and stuff. You never want to drink a bar or eat a bar. Sorry. You want something like a Cliff Block or something that's easy to go down. But if you don't do that stuff, at about 5 or 6 hours, you're going to hit the wall. And it's not only physically, it's going to be mentally that you start making poor decisions.
Yeah. So
that's a co-driver's job, is to stay on top of that. And I think that, I imagine for Shannon and Waylon and Brian and the guys that I know that do the single seat, that's probably hard to remember to do that.
Sure. Yeah, you don't have...
Because before you know it, 3 or 4 hours is gone.
Yeah,
sure.
Right. You don't have your Co-dawg handing you a charcuterie plate here across the thing.
Right.
Eat up.
Pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon?
Yeah. Yeah, I never thought about that as a single seat driver. I mean, I've always, the first thing that comes to my mind is single seat is like, okay, you're everything. I mean, you got to get out winch, you're setting up all the rigging and everything, and then winching, and then putting everything back away. But yeah, I never thought about that aspect of just trying to keep your, fed and hydrated during the race, of reminding yourself of that.
Well, it's almost... a curiosity is, how many calories are being burned? People are, you're just sitting in the car. Well, like you said, you're shifting around when you're in the rocks, you're tightening up your core when you're going high speed through the desert and whatnot. Obviously you're burning a lot of energy and then if something goes wrong and you're changing a tire and you're going to do that tire change in as least amount of time as possible. So you want to get back on the track. But a lot of energy gets burned out there.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to replace the calories that you use during the race in anything you're eating during the race. It's not going to be possible. You're not going to want to. If you really wanted to, the easiest thing would be something like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, just something that's caloric dense. But you're not going to be able to do that. It's not going to be what you want to eat at that point in time. So, and I'm sure everybody deals with this, and it sounds funny, but it's a reality. You get up in the morning and you need a good meal.
Yeah.
But it's like 6 o'clock. And you want to eat some oatmeal, and then around 7 o'clock while you're lining up, you're like, there's that coffee in that oatmeal.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you're trying to figure out what to do with your catheter. You put it back in the toilet while you're...
Yeah, right?
It's a whole process that I think people don't want to deal with, in all honesty, so they don't eat.
Yeah.
Or they don't hydrate, right? And that's the worst thing you could possibly do.
So planning that way, then you got to think about the meals the previous days. Maybe.
Yeah. What's dinner and breakfast look like for you guys the night before and the morning of?
I don't change. I eat a lot of food every day.
Yeah.
So I don't not really worried about that. And considering what I'll put my body through for a CrossFit workout, I'm not concerned. One of the things I don't do is I don't drastically change what I eat because I don't want to have the effects of something different the next day. Right.
Well,
so I don't eat some food that I don't normally eat. I don't do any of that stuff. I just stay with my normal plan, maybe eat a little bit more, and then, I'm usually going to be fine. But I also train that way too.
Okay. Yeah. Well, don't upset the apple cart. That makes sense.
So this is good advice for the rookies out there too. What you just talked about with the diet and pre-meal or pre-race meals.
Yeah. No chipino.
No, it's huge.
Before.
Yeah, last year I think Jason had some venison or something like that, and the night before he's like, "Dude, let's have venison." And I'm like, "No way, dude, I'm not doing venison." Yeah, last time I had that didn't go well for me or my wife, so she had to be around me. So that was like a perfect example of me not changing my diet.
That makes sense.
Right before the race. And look, CrossFit Sally, so maybe I'm just soft. I just can't eat that stuff, but. That's my suggestion to people. Don't do any drastic changes.
Yeah.
But man, I don't not hydrate because you're afraid of having to pee.
Yeah.
Wear a catheter. It sucks. And if you're pissing your pants, you end up pissing your pants.
Right. Well,
it's better to have that than to be dehydrated.
Well, that's it. I remember one of my first KOHs and when spectators could be near some of the pits there, and it was like, buddy goes, "Hey, why is this car leaking right there?" I said, "They're taking a piss." He says, "Oh, I didn't think about that." Yeah, it's like, it's hard to take a piss at 90 miles an hour across the desert, but when you're sitting in the pit, as long as you're not whizzing on somebody below you, but anyways.
That poor crew member that has to crawl under the car.
Right.
Hey, you know what? That's actually maybe good advice to rookies, because our first race, we finally got to the pit and I could finally relax to pee. And I remember one of our crew members, I'm not making this, he goes, "We got a leak." And I think it was our crew member, Brian Whitford. And he sticks his hand under there and I'm laughing so hard that I can't tell him it's piss, but I'm just laughing. And so now usually, this is good for rookies. Usually when we pull into the pits, I'll make an announcement.
Yeah.
Hey, we're peeing right now.
Yeah.
So we don't have a leak.
That's good. Yeah, I did. Yeah, crew chief's going, "I don't remember running yellow antifreeze."
We're wheeling wine and whiskey, folks. Wheeling wine and whiskey.
Hey, man, this is real world stuff.
You heard it here.
The thing that people don't think about.
Well, for sure. No, absolutely. No, this is a great insight.
That's
absolutely.
When I was running, and I mentioned to a few people at our gym that I had a catheter on, they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
And they were, and I had this one athlete, so her name is Jen, and she was so intrigued by the fact that we put this catheter on. She's like, "Wait, explain this situation to me. Like, what is going on right now?"
Wow.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you guys, like, I don't know if you'd ever think about this, but so my wife, used to race with me in some of the XRA stuff. And we actually used to own a company called Race Catheter because I thought that the catheters that were out there were terrible.
Wow.
And she designed a catheter, which is the same one I use now, that works really, really well. And the reason we stopped doing it was because the insurance was so high.
Oh, really?
But she was so, at that time, bound and determined to find something for females because there's nothing for a female to use.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. I mean, the male situation is not great either. It's still really hard to pee in the car and get the catheter to work right. But for females, it's even worse.
Damn near impossible. Yeah.
Well, we've talked about it. Amber
the Hammer,
Amber Turner. We've talked to it with her. We've had her on the podcast numerous times, and it's like, okay, yeah, we know what the guys do. What do you do? So yeah, it's and they used to.
Megan Miller's gonna have to deal with.
Well,
that too.
and they used to just get out of the car.
Yeah,
they would just get out of the car, but now they're
Time is everything.
Yeah, gosh.
So, right on.
Yeah, you don't have time for that.
No. Ain't nobody got time for that.
I was just talking to Ryan, and earlier was BJ's co-driver, and he's like, "Yeah, dude, we're not going to win, so we're not wearing catheters." And I said, "You're an idiot. You don't put a catheter in.
No.
You don't understand how uncomfortable that is when you're hitting those whoops and you have to pee and the
your
seatbelts
bladder's
are cinched down on your bladder." Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know. I've some racers. They got those catheters, and they're using them around the campfire where they're slamming beers. So they don't even have to get up. I'm like, well, that's pretty ingenious.
Saves time, man. More
So
drinking time. Jason's all, I'm on.
Well, I think it's funny because when we were first developing, it goes along with your story, those catheters, my son was like 6 years old and he hated to stop playing to pee. To get him to come in and use the bathroom. He just hated it. And so he would have accidents because he would just wait too long. And so I was testing the catheter, just literally wearing it around the house. And he was like, hey, that would work really well for me. Like he wanted to wear one while he was playing. That's
so good.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
Play this back at his wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely will. Are you guys still, am I still in the microphone? I guess.
Yeah, you're good.
We got you.
Oh, okay. I thought it came unplugged here.
Loud and clear.
On that catheter situation. I mean, I think that they're probably more important in the morning, to be honest, because you know how it is when you're getting ready to do something intense and your body's like, okay, we're evacuating everything right now.
Yeah.
And to be able to just stand there next to your car, getting ready and just being able to use the bathroom is. So I feel bad for the females in the race because I think what they probably do, I should ask Bailey that because I know Bailey pretty well, but I think that it's more, they probably don't hydrate as much as they should.
They're just afraid to. Yeah.
Well, that's dangerous too, right there. To not hydrate. I mean, for sure. So
absolutely.
So I got to ask, I mean, how nervous are you on race morning? I mean, what now that you're like the seasoned pro, but what's you get your routine, you're all suited up, you're getting in the car in Hammertown there and start heading towards that line. Where you at on the nerve scale there?
I don't want this to come across like in any sort of arrogant way, but I'm not nervous during the race at the beginning of the race. I am nervous before qualifying. Jason's nervous for qualifying.
Okay.
Once we qualify and now we have our placement, then we can put a plan in place.
I see.
And before that, you can't put any plan in place. Once the plan's in place, then I'm pretty calm.
Okay.
And there's something that I'll say it to Jason every single race, or he'll say it to me before we start the race is don't do anything during this race that changes our life on Monday.
Very well said.
What that means is
there's a lot to
winning. Winning does not change your life.
No.
But doing something stupid can change our life or our family's lives drastically. And so that's really where our mindset's at. And it makes us very calm. It puts things in perspective before we start the race.
That's very well said. Well, you alluded to it earlier too, that you're just very calm, even keeled. And obviously that's where I was kind of going with that on race morning. I mean, there's, the excitement and everything going on, but it's not your first rodeo either. So, and it's nice to have the experience and all that under your belt when you get into that situation. But I mean, it's just electric. I love that.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
You guys, I think that, and this is probably for every racer and the rookies, don't get so amped up that you don't get an opportunity to take in how special that moment is.
Live in the moment.
Calm down. Look at the faces around you that are cheering you on. Look at the Jumbotron. National anthem, all these things are the stuff that you want to remember. And if you're too amped up and too hyper focused on the race, you don't take the opportunity to take that stuff in. And that's the stuff that's really special.
Well, and that's our society now. Everybody's like, oh, I got to record this, or I got to, they got their phone out and all that. And it's like, dude, put your phone away and live in the moment for a minute, Yeah.
Not everything needs to be an IG post.
No. And I just went and saw Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock. Incredible comedy show, right? But they lock up your phone before you go into the theater, into the venue.
Awesome.
So everybody's in the moment, and I'm looking around and it's like, I haven't seen this since 1980, so it just kind of triggered my memory on that. But that's,
10 years old.
I don't know, whatever.
8?
It was before cell phones. I know that before bag cell phones, Chris, that you had when you carried to high school. So
wow. Why, man?
I might have that same thing. I'm probably old. I'm probably still older than both you guys.
I don't know.
I'm 54, so
I'm 50.
I'm 51.
Okay, see, you're right in the middle. You're right in the middle.
Winning or losing.
We're all winning. We all listen to the same music growing up and all that. Yeah, no, it's good stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I one more thing. I went through my list here of things I wanted to hit, and I think we hit everything. But you named your son after one of my favorite 4-wheel drive trails. So, how did that? Was it come about?
No. So unfortunately it didn't. And my wife's sitting right here too. But yeah, I would love it if that were the case. Yeah. So our son is named Barrett. And it's after the Barrett Lake Trail. Awesome. But we did not conceive him on the trail.
Oh, no. Okay. No, I wasn't getting to that. I was wondering if he was named after the Barrett Lake Trail though, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what I thought.
Yeah. No, it was thinking about all the places that we love, and it's a beautiful trail, and we just had never heard the name Barrett before.
Yeah.
And then, of course, now once you have a child named Barrett, we recognize we see the name like Jason, right?
Like Jason now. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So he was named after that trail. That's where we got the name from.
That's
sure.
cool. That's
very cool. Very cool. What I don't think we touched on it. What's your trail rig if you have one currently right now?
I don't have one right now. I sold my Bronco.
Oh, that's right. You did sell your Bronco.
Oh. Yep. I have my trail rig's a 2005 Excursion.
There you go.
I'll take on the Rubicon, but we just are finding that we're going on, a little less populated. I kind of talk this in the Big Rich thing a little bit, like just going places that are a little less populated and a little easier to get to.
Yeah.
I'm tired of wrenching on things.
Yeah.
And I know people are going to give me shit and say you're so fucking soft, but I'm like, want to just get to camp, and I want to swim and relax and just enjoy it. And, I think that my wife's the most supportive person in the world, and she's always down with all my crazy ideas, but I know she's on the same page too. Like, let's just go and enjoy time together instead of having to always do all these hardcore trails and be stuck in traffic. And look, I love all that stuff.
You, man.
It's amazing, but I've been there, done that. And,
sure.
And my son has a badass XJ on 37s with 60s front and rear. And we did some wheeling, but even for him, he's like, you know what? I've been doing this since I was a kid too. And he's just enjoying just kind of getting out and camping a little bit more.
Right on.
Overlanding.
So does he have any interest in the racing element at all? Or, to right seat or even drive?
Yeah, he rode with me in the UTV race in Moab.
Oh,
I don't know if you guys knew we did that together. Yep. That was his 16th birthday, and Jason wanted me to co-drive. And the previous year, basically, he didn't have a birthday. It's April 1st. So with COVID, he just didn't have a birthday. And so I told Jay, I was like, look, dude, I can't miss his birthday. I can't go out and do this race. And then Jason, being the guy he is, he's like, hey, why don't you just take the racer and race with him?
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? And he goes, yeah, how awesome would that be for him? And, so we did that. And one of my favorite moments of that race was we were like in our second lap, and he goes, Daddy, I don't understand how old people do this stuff. Because he was just feeling beat.
Well, there you go. It goes back to what we talked about previously, right? Yeah. You're not just sitting along for a joyride. You are getting crap beat out of you.
I don't doubt it. No.
But along those lines, I'm growing toward, as I've gotten older, and I like wrenching on stuff, but I don't want to do it like, spending a week before a trip, just like constantly having to rebuild the vehicle before a trip. But I got a tube buggy, and that's been like super durable. It's way overbuilt, and that's been a lot more enjoyable for me, especially on like Fort Ice and going down to the Hammers, these harder trails where it can take the abuse, and you can go slow and crawl into camp and be into camp early too, because you're rolling on 43s or something. But I still have the CJ5 on 37s, and that's a blast on Rubicon and Barrett and stuff. But it is nice having a retired race car that you can just cruise into camp and not have to wrench on as much.
Yeah.
Not getting.
No, I mean, you can build a trail bomber or something like that and never touch it. But and I say this like it's just the reality. I honestly just don't have that kind of money to be into racing. I'm very, very fortunate to be able to be in that right seat for these teams that can have built their legacy and have the sponsors to be able to do that. And then, I wouldn't say unfortunately, but I just can't give that to Barrett, and he gets that.
Sure,
he knows the money that it takes to do this stuff. So we could do our snowmobiling and stuff like that. And he's at San Diego State right now. He's in film school. He wants to do filming, and maybe it'll be some stuff in the off-road industry.
Be the Warren Miller of off-roading.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he did some stuff. Tempt Media is usually out there with us. Yep. And so those guys were so rad to Barrett last year. They're like, let's just get you a media jacket. And so I got him a media jacket, and which I probably shouldn't say.
No, it's all right. It was good.
It's fine. Happened to be a media jacket that was in Jason's trailer.
Yeah, right. From Mexico.
Exactly. So he went out there. And those guys, they took him out for a full day of showing him what it was all about. And it was so cool because he was getting ready to go to college. And I think it really inspired him to continue with something that he loves.
That's
right on.
That's great. We camped next to the Temp Media guys a few years ago, and it was cool. I got to find this video. So they had a drone, and there was fireworks near our camp. Obviously, we weren't shooting off fireworks because that'd be illegal out there in the California desert. But he says, "Hey, I'm going to put this drone up," and he goes, "How high do you think this firework's going to go?" And we're like, "I don't know, man. You're just going to have to gauge it." So he set his drone up there and fired right at it, and it blew up right below him. And I mean, the image was insane, and it was cool. So anyways, we hung out with those guys. They are a bunch of characters and a lot of fun, and get some killer footage. So
they're so good, and they're right there in San Diego.
So right. They're right there for him. So that wow, what a great combo there for Barrett.
Yeah. Do you think that fireworks and 55-gallon drums of race fuel are a bad idea? Is that what you're saying?
Not at all.
No comment.
Not scary at all.
Nothing at all.
We have our fire extinguishers. We're good.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah, this year's. Every year it just seems like it's getting bigger and better. But I am just really excited with the rookie program this year. The new cars that are out there. So your guys' new car, Levi Shirley's. Herschel's always got something new going. I mean, it's just it's crazy.
Have you seen Herschel's car? This 4-wheel steer thing, is that legit or is that something?
Oh no, that's legit.
It's legit.
Like honestly, you guys, like you've heard the video. Our Dugan's Ford motor sounds insane coming out of the back of the trailer, and we were like, oh my god, that's so fucking sick. Listen to the car. And then we shut it off, and like 10 minutes later, Herschel fired up his 1100 horsepower 600 cubic inch big block. I don't know. And I'm like, wow, that was
really
totally different.
What horsepower do you know what your guys is pumping out?
I think we're around 800.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, eight. I can't remember. I don't remember what the dyno numbers were with the 8-sec. I think it's around 820, something like that. I mean, look, it's fast, but Horschel's just sounded a little bit different.
A little bit more spicy.
Yeah, it's a little deeper groan to it, a little deeper growl. That rig's insane. That guy's he's an amazing fabricator, and you guys know how it is. I mean, it isn't 10 years ago where there's only 5 rigs that can win.
Mm-hmm. And it's the unlimited class, I mean,
it's crazy. I was even watching a video today, and I was like, holy crap, whose IFS rig is that? It was last year. I've never even seen the rig. And I'm kind of glad I don't see him, because I think I would just get too intimidated by everything out there. Right. I think I'm better just staying in our tent, and we just do our plan and focus think that there's nobody else out there.
Yeah.
Yep, don't get distracted at all. This is what we do. And if it works out, we'll finish well. If it doesn't work out, we'll figure it out next year.
You do you.
We do you. Yeah, I can't get all hyper focused on what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, as a spectator, I mean, that's what I love, is just going through the pits and seeing all this new stuff and what crazy ideas people are coming up with to build a better mousetrap out there for the hammers. And it's so much fun to watch unfold. So.
Well, I think that for you guys, like you're really into the craft, and I think if you look at Jason's car, I'll just say, look at the front end. There's not another car built like Jason's, and that's his idea. What he thinks works, whether it's right or not, I don't know. I don't know enough about geometry, but it's just fun to see everybody's different ideas. I mean, Yeah, I heard Herschel's co-driver. I don't know this for sure, but I heard his co-driver runs the rear steer.
Really?
What?
That's the rumor
That's
that
like what do they call that on those fire trucks? The tiller guy in the back. Yeah.
I can't believe so.
Letting it hang out.
So you guys, this is hilarious because I said that, and I had a bunch of young people around me. They didn't know what I was talking about. I'm like, you don't remember the arcade game that was at the PD golf course where you drove the rear of the fire truck?
Yeah. And supposedly that's really hard to do too.
Well,
I've talked to a couple
the
tiller guys.
firehouse just up the street. We can go check it out. Hold on, let's put it on.
Yeah, let's go try.
Yeah, I don't know if
that's
true or not, but I was like, wow, that's incredible driver and co-driver communication to be able to pull that off.
That's a lot of trust.
You got to be on the same page.
Yeah, guys, I mean, really.
I mean, you know, Slauson with his Gold Digger 4-steer buggy. You heard what happened to him out there at Thanksgiving weekend. The desert?
I didn't. No.
Oh, no.
No,
so he built this 4-steer buggy, badass bomber 4-steer buggy, had it out at Trail Hero, working through some new car blues. Anyways, he was going down the road at Trail Hero, and he bumped the rear steer. It's a log splitter valve. It's a hydraulic valve, right? And so he bumped it, and it sent the car sideways, and he went off into the sand. No big deal at that area. But he was out in the desert running the car about 50 miles an hour, he said, and his dog Cody, Bob was in the passenger seat. Cody was sitting on like Bob's lap, and then like readjusted his foot and hit the rear steer at 50 miles an hour. They did 3 rolls in the desert, landed on their lid. Luckily, nobody was hurt. Bomber Bob had a few scratches on him. The dog took off, obviously scared. But for that rear steer. So I'm like, Randy, you got to figure out some kind of lockout on that thing when you're doing your 50 mile an hour plus across the desert.
No shit.
But yeah, I can only imagine an Ultra 4 car doing 100 plus out in the desert, and you got to have some kind of lockout on that rear steer.
I would imagine. Yeah. I couldn't imagine. And anybody not having a lockout on an Ultra 4 car like that. But if you guys really think about that, if it is true that Horschel's co-driver is running the rear steer, if they're that good together, that is unstoppable.
Yeah.
I mean, really, like to just be able to know each other that well where you would follow so perfectly like that. That's
crab walk through the rocks. My God. I mean,
see, we don't,
it's got to be,
about that.
Yeah, no.
I need to know. I got to do me.
Yeah. No, I like that.
Well, I'll tell you, this is, man, I've been getting so excited.
Oh, yeah.
Every week we talk to somebody new, and it just gets more and more exciting to be down in the lakebed in 2.5 weeks.
Yeah. When do you, how early do you get down there? Week before?
I'll leave on the 31st.
Okay.
Jason will come down a day or two later, but I'll get there a little bit early. It's kind of different this year. I don't know if you guys listened today, but, the trophy trucks are going to run the desert one direction, and we're running the desert the other direction.
Oh, okay.
So we cannot pre-run our direction until after the trophy truck race.
Okay, so that first weekend.
Even though we get the map on Thursday or whatever it is, if we pre-ran the desert, we would be pre-running it backwards of the way we would normally be running it.
I see.
And so, like for Jason, he's like, I don't want to do that.
No.
That's going to confuse me. I could go out and pre-run it and mark some hazards, but we will not run that section until we're allowed to run it the direction that we normally would. So it's very opposite of what we usually do. We usually spend a lot of time on that first lap because that's where Jason and I want to get out front. Mm-hmm. And then we spend the second half on the rocks. And so now we'll be doing the rocks before we go to that typically.
Okay.
Or this year, I should say.
You guys end up pre-running the entire course throughout prior to the race, would you say, or are you?
Oh yeah, no,
you're getting everything
the whole course
in the car,
in the race car.
See, that's the thing, yeah. And where some teams are like have a dedicated pre-running car and stuff, and it's like no, you guys run it in the full race car, which has its pros.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We don't really have another choice.
Yeah.
The biggest pro for me, and this is going to sound so funny, but this will kind of wrap up our team. And look, I think you know how bad we want to win every time. However, it's really about having fun. And when we're pre-running, we're having a really fun time.
Good.
Well, you guys have posted some videos and stuff from out there pre-running, and it's a blast. And I've been out there and ran across, I haven't ran across your team in particular, but I've ran across other teams. I mean, it's so much fun, and like you said before, it's it's a race and all that, but might as well have some fun while you're doing it, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, then you have to have the team that we have, you guys. Like and I'm sure every team has this, but man, there's not a person on our team where their skill set is absolutely insane. You're not going to see me touch a bolt on that car.
Yeah.
I just don't have the level of our team. And I'm sure every team's that way too, but I just know for us, we can go out there and run the car that hard. And then that car is going to be put all into qualifying trim. Mm-hmm. And then, the whole car is going to be, anything that needs to be rebuilt is going to be rebuilt.
Yep.
And we have the team to do it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what now, because you guys are your own pit crew in between pits, how familiar are you with the car? I mean, basic stuff. I mean, I know you're mechanically inclined, but do you get into all this electronic stuff now? I mean, are you bringing your laptop out and starting to figure out? I mean, you're limited. You're the gopher. You're the guy that runs to the pit and picks up that laptop and brings it back out to the car or something, I guess. But I don't know.
No, that's not happening. I mean, look, you guys, we can hardly figure out how to fuel the car. Right? That's always the big joke. Everybody I talk to, like, hey, did you guys figure out how to put gas in the car?
How to fill up the car?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Screw that up too. No, that's we're not touching any of that stuff. But I will say that the previous car, it was built when I wasn't there for the build. Mm-hmm. And I've really done my best to have my hands on most of the things in this car, at least understand it.
Okay.
I may not be, I'm not allowed to put a zip tie on the car, but I at least understand where the zip ties go.
Right. Well, that's good. Yeah. You got to have some basic knowledge of what's going on.
Yeah. I feel more comfortable if I need to work on it to understand where everything is and what needs to be done.
Cool. Yeah.
And it's been cool, you guys. Like, I don't know if you've really paid attention to that car, but I've been around a lot of cars that are built around the parts. This is the first time I've been around a car that the parts are built around the car.
Yeah. I mean, that's a custom transfer case, like you were saying. I mean, that's a one-off.
There's two. We have both of them.
Well, yeah, you own the one
and the spare. Yeah. I mean, the fuel cells, a one-off fuel cell to accommodate a 42-inch tire if we ever go to 42s back there. The shocks, those are all CAD designed and sent to Fox and built specifically for Jason's car. Wow. It's so badass to be a part of it and be on that leading edge of technology.
Can't wait to check out the car in the pit when we get there.
Yeah.
We'll definitely.
Yeah, I think I got to talk to Jason about maybe leaving, like, if Ford will allow us as we run through contingency to have like half the car with the body on and half without. Because to see the fab work that Keith Get Bent did is just, I hate to cover it up with any sort of body, because it's, man, he deserves, people being able to see that. Like, really,
it's like a work of art.
It's amazing.
Huh? Yeah,
it really is. Yeah, cool. Yeah. That guy. Well, it's like nobody I've seen. It's insane.
Yeah, right on. So cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Is there anything else you can think of, Chris?
This has been an incredibly awesome
I want to keep going, but I don't know what else. Everything's checked off my list. What do you got, Jason? You got anything else you want to chat about, or what's the future hold for you guys? What are you looking forward to at KOH 2023 other than winning? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's so much fun talking to you guys. I just looked up and I was like, wow, we've been doing this for a while. This is fun.
Almost 2 hours.
Has it been almost 2 hours?
Yeah.
I was wondering. I have no time in front of me right now to know. Oh, yeah, you're right there. Yeah, we're 154.
Yeah, no, I thank you very much for this, guys. I mean, our goal is to win. You don't build a car like this to not want to win. Is my confidence in terms of the car's ability, in terms of how it's designed to win? Sure. Is my confidence there in everything that we have been able to test? I'll be honest, no, we're not there yet. Hopefully things will go well, and if they don't, hopefully we find the solutions for the problems. But it's just how it always seems to work.
Sure.
You plan everything out, you get down to the last minute, and there's holidays and issues with little parts here and there, and life going on. Next thing you know, I had a friend say to me, 2 months ago where it was like, it's 6 Mondays until we leave. And I'm like, oh my God.
That's a bad way to put it.
Yeah, I know. I wasn't happy about that. A month and a half was way better than 6
it does.
Mondays.
It sounds better. A month and a half sounds a lot better than 6
Checkpoint
months.
Dolly is doing it by sleep. So 27 more sleeps.
Yeah.
Or 14 more sleeps or whatever it is. It seems like it takes a long time to get here, but then it's like as soon as Christmas is over, it's like boom, King of the Hammers is here now. It's just time is moving very fast.
Well,
not that you need to be told that.
It's we're leaving in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so there's fortunately, like I said, this last weekend went really well, but there's still a lot to do. But I don't know, sport's amazing, and where it keeps going is amazing, and what Dave does is amazing, and you guys, I've been by his side for a long time, and watching what he has to do to pull off this race is, and I know sometimes he'd be the first to admit he can be a difficult person to deal with, but his passion for wanting to make this happen for everybody, and the shit he has to deal with on the political side of it is
especially
insane.
the COVID year. I mean,
and to get that race, I mean, that was the true testament right there, was to have the race continue through COVID, that in California, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that. If that doesn't say it right there, that he's determined, I don't know what does. So
there is a moment that I don't think anybody else will know. I don't think it's ever been mentioned before. That race was going on, and we gathered inside of a tent, and there was people, and it said, please put your mask on. Okay. Like, we've got the entire world watching this right now that we're putting on this race. And there were a couple people in that area would not put their mask on. And I looked at Jason and I go, what dicks?
Yeah.
Like, how can you not be respectful of this situation? I don't care what you think politically. Just, we're getting an opportunity to put this on. How can you not just put that on your face? Mm-hmm. And I've always had a lot of respect for Dave, but it was that moment when he stood up right in front of those people and he called those people out to their face.
Yeah.
And they still didn't want to put their mask on. He said, guess what? You're not fucking racing in my race.
See you later.
And it was that moment. I mean, there's a lot of moments where, those defining moments in people's life. And I was like, yep, good. And I don't think Dave, I don't know what he is politically, but he probably didn't want to put a mask on. I guarantee he didn't want to put a mask on.
But the world was watching.
The world was watching, and it was important to be professional at that moment. And the fact that he was just able to willing to call those people out like that, and really put his foot down, I had a lot of respect for him.
No, that's great. I mean, I remember media, is telling us like, hey, the world is watching. You guys, we need to put the mask on, do the show, put on the show, so everybody feels good about it.
Get rid of your ego.
So. Yeah.
So I'm just excited that every single year we get to go. I'm like, yep. Here we go. And that the only thing that's a bummer on Sunday is I got to wait 364 more days to race again.
Well, that's good. So you and Shannon going to do any pre-running, or you just hop in the car with him and go, since both of you guys know the place pretty well?
I hope to make that happen better this year.
Okay.
It's hard.
There's not enough hours in the day.
There's not, and there's a lot going on down there. They've got, UTV and the big cars and how many cars they have going on, and everybody's running around to try and make everything happen. What I'm hoping to happen this year, is that if I get down there before Jason, that maybe I can go spend a little more time with Shannon. Okay. And we can get out and do a little pre-running together. Because you're actually correct. Usually when I hop in the UTV with him, it's the first time we've been in together.
Yeah.
And so that's unfortunate.
Well, he's supposed to be down there early too. So that might be the opportunity then before things get crazy down there in the Hammertown.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, Jason does a pretty good job of trying to kind of situate himself where he's not right in the middle of everything. Mm-hmm. It's really hard at the Campbell pit. It's the Campbells, And so, man, you go down there and just, it's consistent people stopping by wanting to talk.
We interviewed him last year and we hit it at the perfect time, Shannon being super cool as he is. And he's like, yeah, just stop by the camp and we'll figure out what time. And we stopped by camp and he just finished breakfast or whatever. And it was quiet. It was quiet in camp. And then he goes, yeah, right now is a good time. I'm like, okay, well, that worked out perfect. But it's usually just pure chaos with, just the teams there. I mean,
oh yeah, no, it's craziness. But I'm ready for it. Let's do it. Let's go.
Let's go. Well, let's go right now.
Right, meow.
When do you guys get down there?
I'll be down there the first, I bet. Yeah,
Second,
first or second.
Friday the 2nd. I think this.
I might be down there the first.
Oh, whatever.
We'll see.
Unlimited
So
vacation
here's-
time
I gotta-
over here, huh?
It's interesting to kind of talk to you guys about this because I haven't talked to Eric, but like 6 months ago, Eric's like, I'm getting out of this. I can't win this race. And da-da-da-da. I'm like, sure you can. I mean, like, yeah, some things have to happen, but you can win this race. Like you did really well last year, and he was kind of down in the dumps. And then I just heard through a mutual friend that he was just all in and he's going to win the fucking race.
Yeah. Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
And so I'm excited to see him this week and be like, dude, this is what I'm hearing, because that fires me up.
No,
that he would
it's-
have that total switch around.
It's
Has he said that to you
100%
guys?
true. Yes, 100% true.
Awesome.
Talked to Eric quite a bit, and he, what really kind of underscored it for him was Zandy, and that whole
Yep.
Rufus team, and just he was so close last year, and everything was working. He goes, "This car is dialed. I feel good." He's got a new co-pilot this year, which is interesting. So, I don't know. Do you know Kevin up there, the 1-ton tractor? He's the lineman that was his co-dawg. He moved up there a couple years ago to Truckee. So, anyways, he was co-dogging with Eric, and he told Eric, he goes, "I'm not going to make it this year. I can't do it." So then Eric was scrambling for a new co-dawg and ended up going with Kevin Jones, who raced 4,800 a couple years, and he has a great, the EMC attitude and challenge. I mean, he is a firefighter, and he puts every effort into his family, and whatever spare time he has is racing. And he just did. Came back today from Clawhammer Challenge, where they take. He took an F250 up Clawhammer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crew
So
cab.
check out Ultra 4 Jones on IG and watch his IG is super. He's putting out stuff every day, and he has a YouTube channel too, Chasing 518. But anyways, he was our first interview, right? Ever, and we've become really good friends. And he is so passionate about the sport and everything that you're echoing, saying. And then I think it's going to be a great fit with him and Eric racing. We're super excited to see that team get out there and go after it, because he is fired up. Eric is fired up and wants to win this thing like everybody else. But he's just.
Yep.
The guys, I mean, everybody says, yeah, I want to win. But the guys that are just like extra fired up and doing everything they can. So,
Well, the competition.
Well, it ends up being just a progression for this race. Your very first one, you're just trying to finish the race.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to get a top 20. And then you're like, man, I really want to get a top 10. And then
Right.
like, God, if I could finish in the top 5. And you're like, if I could finish in the podium, like it just has these different levels you're trying to get to. And look, Eric has all the pieces and parts, and Randy's won that race, and it's a very similar car. And he can do this.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's the extreme, and we talked about it. It's like you got your car and Cody Wagner's car and stuff. I mean, just crazy technology, and then you've got Slauson with the Bomber basic straight axle. Built like a brick shit house, but goes fast and makes it happen out there in the desert. Obviously proven too. So there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, and it's interesting. That's from my standpoint. I love looking and seeing all the different mechanics, and the drivers and the picking lines, and all that stuff factors into it. So it's all good stuff, man.
All right.
Wow.
I can't wait now. You guys got me fired up.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Right on.
Right, Jason, super cool having you on the show. We really appreciate it. Absolutely.
Yeah, this has been a fun one, and finally glad we made this happen. And sorry it wasn't in person, but we'll definitely see you down there in the desert and circle back with you guys down there.
We'll be packing microphones. Maybe we can get you and Jason and the mic at the same time.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love that. And again, you guys, it was, I'm super honored to be here. It's, what a fun time. I mean, I just can't believe this much time has gone by. But like I said, it's campfire talk. And I don't know if anybody else will find it interesting, but I enjoyed myself.
I guarantee it. Yeah. Our listeners love this stuff. I mean, that's why we do it. We've, been doing this for 3 years or whatever. And, like I say, we don't have a strict format. We just kind of rap with different people in the industry, and it's been a blast for all of us. So
There's always an open bottle of bourbon or whiskey at our campsite.
Yeah. We got to hit him early in the week. Well, he
That's
doesn't
right.
drink.
No, he
Jason
doesn't
doesn't drink.
No drinking?
Occasionally.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's good.
Probably a good thing.
So,
I had some fun. I used to. I had some fun times. That's for sure.
Sure. Well, I've definitely cut back. So,
So have I.
Chris has too. So, as we get older, we
Yep.
go. Yeah. So, kidding.
Lids on.
Lids on. It's nothing. Right on. Well, Jason, thanks again, man. Looking forward in a few short Mondays. How many Mondays? Four Mondays or something
Mondays,
now? 3 or 4 Mondays now?
Three Mondays, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I
Seeing you
know.
down the desert. And this is going to be a freaking awesome KOH
I'm looking so
2023.
forward to
It is.
Right
It
on.
is.
Thanks, Jason.
Cool.
Thanks, you guys.
All right.
All right.
I'm speechless. I don't know what to say. What do I say? What do I do with my hands?
There's nowhere to go.
What do
with
I do with this microphone now?
Just throw it away. We just drop the mic and we're done.
How great.
And we're out.
How great was that, though? Just super chill guy.
Oh yeah.
The history that he has in rock sports in general, right?
Oh yeah.
And then to evolve and get to the pinnacle, let's just say, because definitely, 3-time king status there, and with a state-of-the-art car.
Mm-hmm.
Always. I mean, they're always pushing the envelope over there in that 76 racing team. So we keep saying this over and over this last few podcasts, getting ready for KOH. I cannot wait, but I'm super stoked.
It's going to be
See this, you watch that IG video that he was referring to. I mean, it sounds so damn good. Just spicy V8 jamming across the desert there. And the shock technology that he was talking about. And I'm just like, okay, so looking forward to that. And then, how about all those little insights, right? And it's like he talks about it, okay, well, I go talk to whoever we're paired up on the line with.
You know what? That never even occurred
to me. I mean, I haven't raced a damn car at KOH, but I mean, how cool is that to go up to, like Brian Crofts and go, all right, so what's your plan? Well, what do you mean? No, like, are you going to like dart off the line? We don't want to take each other out in the first turn. I mean, that's pretty freaking cool, right?
I just had this image of, it's like Rocky and Apollo Creed, facing off when Mr. T was in the thing. And what's your prediction for this fight?
Oh,
Pain.
Yeah. So yeah. And then, say Lauren, you're like, well, I don't want you behind me. It's like, oh, shit. Okay. This is good.
That was funny.
This is good stuff. So I hope you all enjoyed that, because I know we did, and this is great. I mean, just another fun KOH story here.
Yep.
And
more to come.
We can talk about KOH all year long, as we try to do, but
we not instigate, but we put a little bit of it in every episode.
Well, yeah, it's because that's what we like.
It's what we love.
So. Anyways, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I just fired up. I can't wait to see them on the lakebed, see this car live, and see how everything shakes out. Talking about Eric Wicks and Ultra Four Jones, Kevin Jones there, and Berger knows Eric. They're both residents there, and Truckee and Eric goes to his gym, and so it's just cool how the community's tight, the race community's tight, but it's cool to know people within the community and all the stories. And anyways,
well, it's I mean, to kind of, I know we went long, but I mean, to think about all the different teams, whether it's Slauson or Wicks or Scherer. I mean, then you got Cody Addington's not too far away from any of those guys. I mean, there's teams all over the place, and then there's tons of 4,800 teams that are in the Bay Area. I mean,
well, and then he mentioned BJ Carter. Carter, that's right there.
Right.
That's racing this Toyota that's got some spicy little V8 sounds like in it here. Watching some of the IG, so Yeah, you know, and then of course you just go up the highway a little bit, and you got a bunch of guys up there. You got
the Gomez brothers.
Well, yeah, well that's going down the highway. Going up the highway, you got Bomber and you know, Amber up there. Tom, I think Tom Luce racing again. You got Liberty Mountain, Fab Shock, Jesus up there. I mean, it's just
It's a mecca.
It is. I love it.
Mecca, the Bay Area.
I think
California.
I'm going to move there.
Oh,
I think I'm going to move there. All my people are up there.
You've already kind of mentally moved there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we've gone really long. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed this episode, because I know Jason and I absolutely enjoyed recording it and talking with Jason Berger. So super cool.
Yeah. How do they get a hold of us, Chris?
So you can get a hold of us. Well, let's start with the Instagram. So IG is at Wheeling Wine Whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great way to get a hold of us. And if you post pictures or any other posts on IG, always tag us.
Right.
Hashtag Wheeling Wine Whiskey or at Wheeling Wine Whiskey. You can also email Jason or I or Lorenzo at wheelingwinewhiskey.com. And, of course, don't forget about our website, www.wheelingwinewhiskey.com, where you'll see all of our past episodes, links to our merch, links to Irate 4x4, where you can sign up for our Barrel Society, or even just sign up. It's a free sign up for Irate, and you can participate in the forums and see all of our episodes there and the discussions that go with them.
Yeah, and get into the irate deal. I know Austin is going to be in our camp this year at KOH,
Woo-hoo.
so that's going to be awesome. See him down there again. We missed him this past
Bringing
year.
the Mog?
I don't think so, because he's working on it. He was able to get some critical parts that he was looking for, but of course, everything else is just no time. But he is planning on being there.
Cool.
I think he's bringing a golf cart, but that's okay. We won't hold it against him.
I'm going to bring literally a golf cart.
Yeah, you should bring just a golf cart.
I mean, literally a golf cart.
It would be very fitting if you brought a golf cart.
I might be able to acquire one.
Yeah, I got one if you need one.
Do you?
Yeah, club car. It's got the high-speed motor in it, too.
Maybe I'll bring a Pro Gator.
Yeah. There you go. So, anyways, yeah, that, the other thing I wanted to interject is the Element Fire Extinguishers are back in stock.
Woo-hoo.
So,
Back in stock.
get one of those. If you don't know about it, you've been living under a rock, or at least haven't been listening to our podcast. So, go check them out. Give us a call on the hotline, 408-800-5169.
It's 408-800-5169. Leave a voicemail.
Yeah, leave a voicemail about the episode, about anything on your mind. We love the voicemails. And then, of course, if you like this episode, like the podcast, we really, really appreciate the 5-star reviews, and just write a little comment, just like, hey, best podcast ever. Really enjoyed the Burger podcast. Toyotas suck. Whatever you want to put in there, it helps. It helps the monkeys throwing darts at Chartable and brings us up, because we got to keep up here with the other off-road podcasts. So
it builds Lorenzo's confidence.
It really does, and he needs some confidence going into KOH. He's a little timid this year.
Well,
but,
he's timid every time KOH.
Well, yeah, rightfully so. I'm kind of I get a little nervous down there too.
What's the plan for securing Lorenzo this year?
Well, I can't talk about it. It does involve laser beams, though.
Oh shit!
It does. It does.
Sharks with laser beams.
Maybe. And you know what else? I will say this. I wasn't going to mention it, but there's some Unisharks. Some Unisharks that are going to be down there. So those of you that are in the know,
forget Ultra 3. We got Unisharks.
It's a Unishark. All right. With that, I think that's it. Give us a call. Give us a like, and hope you enjoyed the episode. And
Spread the word. Spread the word. Spread the word. Tell your friends. And on that note, we are out.